Good afternoon, Sergio Silvestre, 14951 Royal Oaks Lane. Council, thank you very much for taking us in the first step towards the completion of our amenities. I still think there's a little minute detail that I think maybe city council or departments maybe missed in the initial lease with the land, and that was getting clarification on the countless promises that were made to the residents of the Oaks. Sylvia Londono and myself, who represent the Oaks owners who are here standing. Please raise your hand if you're from the Oaks. And I'm sure you've been receiving some emails from the owners as well. We're trying to figure out what happened with all these promises that were made before you, before ourselves, before the other residents here of North Miami, of a developer who said, we will help you. We will make your buildings beautiful. We're going to make everything better for you. We went and talked to him, and as Mr. Wolin mentioned, he threw the lease at us. He says, the city, that you guys took our money. He had no money for us. I want to get some clarification, and I want to put some conditions in writing, in black and white. I'm requesting it of the city council for the second time now. Get this in writing, get it clarified, make sure that that promise that the developer made to the Oaks owners is fulfilled this time, and not leave us hanging once again. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll close it, everybody. Everybody's trying to be a gentleman. Everybody's come to the microphone.
Good evening. Carol Keys, 12550 Palm Road. I think Mr. Wallen had some very good points, and we are putting the cart before the horse. I think we should have our traffic studies in place, and I also think we have to have some studies with the school. Right now, I believe, my understanding is the school is at 140% capacity. So what is that going to do when we put another 4,000 units on there, and what is that going to do to our traffic? Minor concerns, I know people have a lot of concerns, is we have a 7.2 acre active park. Based on 184 acres, that is less than 4% of the project is a park. And I think that's pretty low. Also, we've talked a lot, and this might seem minor to some people, but in the staff's report, development summary, they do speak to a five-star hotel, 150 rooms. That's not real large, like the picture that was depicted, and they talk a five-star hotel. However, our Exhibit B says a minimum of a three-star hotel. I think that's major. If we agreed to a three-star hotel now, that's what we're going to get. We're not going to even see a 4 or a 5-star, and I would hold them to the 5, and then we could always compromise later on if it's not economically feasible. So those are just a few of the things. I would like you to take your time on this and make sure you know exactly what it is that you're doing. The resolution, there are typos. You talk about attaching exhibits in substantially the same form. I would like it to say on Section 2 in your resolution that you are attaching Exhibit B, not just something in the same form, because what you attach is what you're going to get. Thank you.
William Previtel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I'm an architect and a member of the Planning Commission, but I'm really here much more as a citizen today, as a concerned citizen equal with everybody in the city of North Miami that has a vested interest in the success of this project. I have to say that we've seen some progress in the plan. It would be hard not to progress and show improvement over the original plan that was shown probably, was it January or February? Something that was quite horrific, if I may say, quite frightening that it would even be proposed, quite frightening that it had been passed through to the Planning Commission and to the City Council. And luckily, actually, it had been diverted a little bit for reconsideration, and then had a public presentation, which was graciously hosted by Oleta Partners, and of which a few of the comments that were made were incorporated. I must say not all, and as much as there has been earnest intent of making improvements, those improvements have been rather limited. We have not seen a great deal of change since that meeting at their location. And still, there are a number of areas that are wanting, that need to be articulated. All of you, the 9 of you, and all of you are there, all of you are either lawyers admitted to the bar or very versed in legalities and contracts. And I got to ask you, if you were presented a contract, and there are basic. I've tried previously the analogy with that this is not seaworthy. I'm now going to take this approach that you may better appreciate. In a contract, you have various components of exactly who the parties are, exactly the dates that things are enforced or take place, exactly what the item is, and if there is some consideration for that. It's pretty well defined. All those elements are very, very well defined. And I don't know if any of you would take a contract for yourself for whatever it is. You're going to buy something or rent something or make it a business agreement or whatever it might be. For yourselves, and particularly for our city, that you would have a contract that, oh, you know what? The name says Mr. Smith. It doesn't exactly give a first name or a last name. It's regarding this, but doesn't spell out exactly what that is. And there's a consideration, but it's going to be between this and this. We don't really know. We don't really have all these details, but we're ready to sign a contract, and that's what this is. This is probably the biggest contract. This conceptual plan is probably the biggest contract this city will see in a long, long time. That's what it is. And it was just pointed out that that will be our burden, for better or for worse. We're going to have to live with this. And if it's wrong, then we're going to have to spend a lot of time and energy trying to backtrack and trying to make up that ground. I'd like to point out just a few items, and this is aside from architectural resolution and such, of which there is still, I know the architectural firm, and Kobe is working diligently on this and has a strong vision, but there are still some things that need to be nailed down. If there's discussion for a school, then how hard would it have been over these last many weeks to say, wow, this is a great location. This is a feasible location on this plan for a school. It is this dimension by that dimension. It is connected to this road. It is connected to that. It has this view. It has this security. It's nailed down to some degree. It gives us some hint of where that school might be. Yet there's nothing like that. Are we going to now alter the entire plan to all of a sudden shoehorn in some sort of school of which we don't know exactly how, where, when, why? But there should be something there to accommodate it, and if it doesn't go through as a school, then okay, then we can make it retail or we can make it housing or whatever. There's a fallback plan. My understanding is that there was supposed to be a connection to FIU. Well, if there's a connection to FIU, then there should be some way of that facilitating that to go through. Right now, that tip that goes furthest eastward to FIU into the preserve is really being blocked off completely by housing without any effort at all to have a connector passageway, whether by foot or by car. It's basically almost solid wall. There are components of housing and parking lots, but it's pretty much blocked off without that connector being recognized. That should have been recognized in the plan. It's my understanding also that I thought the agreement for this, letting this property go, was that the land would be cleaned up, that would be made more habitable, would be made safer. Yet we still have, to my understanding, we still have a toxic lake. We still have a toxic lake. It'll always be the toxic lake. And if one were to look at it from a design perspective, I don't know if anybody would say, that's exactly where I want my lake. No. we're letting the tail of the dog it's not even the tail, it's the back end of the dog, is dictating this plan. And that lake really should be, if you can't fish in it, if you can't swim in it, if you don't want to keep your kids near it, if it's not really being oriented as a great view, it's not really a focal point, it's not terminating a vista, it's just sort of there, sort of out of the way. If it's not a great design amenity, then let's fill it in, and they can bring retail back to back with it. Because if you go around that lake, you're looking at the backside of other retail. You're looking at loading docks again. So that is something that should be part of the history of this site that should be obliterated. We have that chance. There is a dollar amount to that, but it's nothing in comparison to the probably $1 billion plus that'll be spent over time on this project. And it will make the site better. You can go, now I have a clean slate, what are we going to do? Speaking of clean slate, we have a retail component, which has changed very, very little. We hear discussions of Lincoln Road, maybe you want to say the Bal Harbor Shops, maybe Merrick Park, or even Aventura Mall. If you look at the plan, this plan is a 1950s strip mall. It has been from the beginning, it remains that now, that's what it will be. That is not Merrick Park or any of those places I mentioned. That is the mall at 79th Street in Biscayne. That is what it is. The mall at 79th Street in Biscayne is the same configuration essentially, the same sort of attitude, the same sort of approach. It's a strip mall, single story, boxes with a parking lot in front of it. We have strip malls here in Miami, in North Miami, that go up and down Biscayne Boulevard, that go across on 123rd Street. We have strip malls already. Are people knocking down the doors to get to these? On 123rd Street, east of Biscayne Boulevard and west of Biscayne Boulevard, are people really, is it so great, we have such high-end shops and such there that people need more strip malls? I see a lot of vacancies. I don't see a lot of people stopping. A lot of businesses just, despite an incredible traffic count, they're just not getting it. It's a strip mall. Do we need something else that not only is it a strip mall, but now it's behind something else? What is the incentive to go back there? What is the incentive to go now forge your way through? We're going to wind up with more 99-cent stores and thrift stores and all the rest of that stuff back there. That's what it's going to lead to. And it's indicative of the plan. It's shown on the plan that that's what you're welcoming. You're not welcoming high-end. I'd like to say, and I commend them, and I commend the architect for presenting some very nice images. I think we are all very much seduced by those images. I think they were all very attractive and very, very promising. But you know what? None of that is incorporated in the plan. You're going to get anybody to take one of those frames and say, that's exactly what we're going to build, and sign on the dotted line now? No. What we're geared up for is in the neighborhood of 4,000 plus. When you add in the various sources, we're gearing up for more than 4,000, low income, purely rental, housing units, sort of the lowest common denominator. It will likely be paid by public subsidies to build it in the first place, and it'll be filled with public subsidized people to end with, and it'll be a burden to the community to have that kind of concentration of people who are challenged in the long run. You don't do that. We've learned over 50 years of post-war, 60 years of post-war history, you don't combine and create this sort of self-defeating environment. So I'd like those images to come out, and I'm sure the architect has best intentions to do that. Does that guarantee that the developer will say, sure, go free rein, we're going to do that exactly, we're going to do high-end housing or something? Surprise. And unless it's in the contract, don't count on it. Our expectations from the beginning for this project have been up here, and something was delivered way down here. And nobody's trying to stop the project. Nobody's trying to prevent this from happening. We all realize it's going to happen. We're just trying to make it as good as not as good as it possibly can be. We're just trying to have it meet some minimum standards to avoid some of the complications that we have. So we'd really appreciate that this be given a little bit more time and effort to resolve some of these issues, to work some of these things out. If you have a clean slate of property, you don't put the high-rise residential part looking into the loading docks of the retail center. You just don't do that. That's something you do when you have no other choice, when that's the conditions you're given and that's what you get. Otherwise, we're going to take a talented architect and he's going to design around that so we don't have to have that. You don't, if you had that condition to begin with, then you put up trees or the change in levels or whatever it is, or some barriers and stuff. That's what they do along the interstates. We'll put up a barrier because, you got to contend with that condition. You don't start with that. That's not on a clean slate proposal. You just don't. And there are improvements that can be made on this. I'm confident that this development team, if they put a little bit more time and effort and resource, whatever, not even resources, just a little bit more common sense into this plan, that it will behoove everyone, the citizens, our government, and particularly the developers themselves, which will be a more successful project. I thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Andrew Hellinger on behalf of the Oaks Association. I think I want to try and put this in context to make sure that we're talking about the right thing. This was their concept plan that was approved part of the lease. I'm sure that they submitted to you. And what they did is they said phase one over here, this big area is retail. And then they have some other phases, which is this is residential in the middle, some more residential on the end, and then there was commercial at the corner of Biscayne and 151st. I think what they've done, what they're asking for, is these phases with the amount and areas of retail have now changed. I think that's really what they're asking for. I don't think that they're asking you to approve a plan that has these, and I don't have a big version of it. I don't know if they have a chart that I can show to the council. I don't think that this whole area that I'm pointing to used to be retail, and now it's got some residential in it. And they've changed the configuration so that the retail is smaller, the residential's behind it and sort of in the middle, and they moved their commercial around. So what they're saying is we've changed our concept plan to where we put the retail and where we put the residential and where we put our commercial endeavors and how we deal with our parkland. I don't think they're asking for approval of the roads and the drainage, because I think that item 16, where the DRC has some comments they've got to meet with, that includes comments that are near and dear to the Oaks, like we've got to coordinate our drainage issues and our traffic issues and things like that, which we're prepared to discuss that with them, as you heard in the earlier item. But I don't think they're saying, hey, approve this, this is what I'm building. I think what they're saying, I think, and I don't think it's been so clear, that they want to replace their concept, which had their colored phases, with different colored phases. And the problem is that they've presented it in a manner that looks like they want this designed as their development, even though they've said we're still working on it, and it's still under some process. And we're going to come back to you and say, when I build the retail, approve how I build it, where I build it, the roads and things like that. I think what they are asking really is to replace an exhibit of areas of future development with different areas of future development. And to the extent that's what they're asking for, then the Oaks wouldn't object to that. But to the extent that they're saying approve this plan, because then they can come back to us and say, well, this plan's approved, so we must make you change the things that affect the Oaks without dealing with it as a friendly neighbor and on an even playing field, then we have to object to this. But I believe what they're really asking for, because I hear them saying, we have to come back through planning, we have to come back through approvals, we have to come back for permits, that they're really saying we have a site plan that no longer works for us, and it's been an exhibit to the lease, and therefore we have to build this. But for instance, our retail has shrunk and been moved, and we've put some residential behind it. And you may not like the residential behind it, but they've called it a residential area. But I don't think I hear them asking that this plan that's been attached, in fact, I think I'm hearing, and I've been told it's been amended slightly even as of today, But this plan is not what they're saying, I'm going to go ahead and build it. I think they're just changing their exhibits, and if that's the case, then Progress would deem to approve it and move it forward so that they can actually apply to say, I'm going to put in a road, do you like the road? I'm asking to make some changes, do you like this? I'm putting retail, this is my retail structure, do you like it? I think this is just a phasing plan. And to the extent it's a phasing plan, I wouldn't oppose it, but to the extent it's something that wouldn't be, you must approve it with conditions, you must approve it with complete traffic studies, with the ingress and egress. Mr. Rowland may be correct, may not work, but they're going to work on it and prove it. There's issues in order to close these lakes. They've got to deal with all kinds of jurisdictional permits, and they certainly, as you heard them say in the Oaks item, they've got to deal with us on how we deal with roads and drainage and site work that intertwines with each other, and gas monitoring and things like that. And to the extent you would approve it, then make a condition upon those items being complied with, which I think Mrs. Callaway has placed into the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Anyone else wishes to be heard?
Yes, Mike McDermott, 840 Northeast 127th Street in North Miami. I've sort of come full circle on some of this. I did see the two planning commissions meetings. I was at the workshop. There was a lot of issues at the planning commissions, a lot of issues at the workshop. There's a lot of issues that were expressed tonight that I agree with their concerns. I agree with need to be dealt with, but that's not what we're dealing with here tonight. I think it says pretty clearly what we're here for tonight is a conditional meaning you're going to have some strings, okay? Use permit for the conceptual, meaning it's not a done deal. It's only a concept of what we're looking at. Master plan development for Tract A. Well, what is that? Well, Mr. Tillman, and by the way, Mr. Tillman, thank you very much. You obviously listened, and you certainly brought a wonderful architect on board. So, Mr. Karp, wherever you are, congratulations on some wonderful ideas. What we're here for tonight is basically allowing them to have that spine road that they need to move things in and out of the project. They need to get that spine road in there and get that approved. And of course, they're just not tomorrow going to go out and build the spine road. They're going to now, after you approve this and approve the spine road, they will then have to come back again and say, look, you approved the spine road, now this is what we're going to do with it, and this is where it's going to be, and this is what it's going to look like. That's what I think. And listening to Mr. Tillman tonight talk and listening to some of the other meetings that I've been to and seeing what's on the agenda, this is, the speaker before me, Andrew, just was saying that it's not about all this other stuff. Everything linear, everything that's coming out of the ground vertical is going to have to come before the Planning Commission and the City Council. You're not losing any powers, you're not losing any input into how this is going to look. Certainly we want to have the highest and best use for Biscayne Landings. No one wants, I don't think, anything more, because the highest and best use is going to mean better jobs, more tax dollars, and on and on and on, has been expressed on many occasions. But I think what we're here about tonight, and not disregarding all the issues that people brought up, because I, like them, have a great deal of concerns. But these are going to be dealt with. What we're here for tonight is a conditional use permit in order to build a road by which they can begin this project by moving things in and out. It's as simple as that. This is not going to be the final draft of a concept plan that they're going to have 2,000 trucks out there tomorrow morning building things. That's all going to be part of an ongoing process that this council and maybe future councils will be dealing with. But what we're dealing here with tonight is pretty simple. A conditional use permit in order to allow them to finally, ladies and gentlemen, finally get this project moving. You know, we talk about all the future of Biscayne Landings and what it can bring, but we've been spinning around and around and around for months now. So let's begin to show that there's some progress, begin to show that we actually are moving to actually accomplishing Biscayne Landings, and this is a very simple, concise initial step. Give them the spine road that they can begin to move things in and out of the project. And that's basically what it says. A conditional use permit for a conceptual master development plan for Tract A. And as Mr. Tillman said twice now, it's about allowing them to begin the spine road so that they can begin at least beginning to show some action, show some movement, so then they can come back to you and say, this is what we want this to look like. Mr. Karp can come and say, this is what I think this is going to look like. But until we get this initial process done, none of that's going to happen. Thank you very much.
You.
Mr. Mayor, may I have a moment to respond?
Yeah, not yet.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
do that once we finish with public comments.
Go right ahead.
My turn.
Yes, Chief.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Kenneth Each, and 776 Northeast 125th Street. I'm a member of the Planning Commission.
That's my address.
When this, well, I'm a retired police officer, so I have to give you a fictitious address. When this first came to the Planning Commission on the first meeting, the concept would have went down in flames. We had 5 members present that night. Excuse me, Mr. Till, excuse me. If you don't mind. It looked like with the architect that came out of Texas. It reminded me of something that Bob Moses put up after World War II in New York, Mayor, where you and I grew up at. It looked like a project. It looked like Cabini Green. It was terrible. It was absolutely preposterous. And we all were kind of indignant on the Planning Commission, and we suggested very strongly that they take it back and they reworked it. Kobe comes along and did, I thought, an outstanding job in changing the whole concept. It went down in the Planning Commission. 2 members were so disgusted they got up and they left, and it was a 2-to-2 vote. And that meant that we did not endorse this project as your Planning Commission. We, the Planning Commission, did not endorse it to come for favorable opinion before the City Council. And some of the concerns we had were, okay, we put this spine road in, but the concept isn't right. And once that spine road gets in, how are you going to change it? That's your blood vessels. That's everything. We're not trying to hold this project up. That's the last thing we want to do. We want to see a great project out there. We want to see something that's really going to truly benefit the city and its citizens. My God, I came here in 1970, and I remember when this was going to be the great Inarama track, and it ended up to be a super fund. We don't want to see that. That's terrible. We have a chance now to really do some great things. You know, I don't want to knock Mr. Swerdlow, but he came to the dance once before with us, and he left us at the dance. He left us at the dance before. And I am really, really very nervous and concerned about this project. I want to see a good project out there. Not, well, we're going to give them a conditional use. Well, you know what? Somehow that conditional use becomes permanent. Let me give you an example of something. We brought up the fact that, okay, we were going to originally have a 4-star hotel out there. Then it went down to a 3-star hotel. And I said, wait a minute. Are the citizens of North Miami not good enough for a 4-star hotel? Are we second-class people here? So at the last Planning Commission, they brought forth a piece of paper and said, oh, now the 3-star is going to go back to a 4-star. Now I look at Exhibit B tonight. This is the first time I saw this, and this really this is why I have my concerns. And if you go down on page 1, the overall development master plan for the site is approved for the following uses. And it goes, bullet number 2, minimum of a 3-star hotel containing 150 rooms equivalent to 75 units. Now, wait a minute. At the last planning commission, you handed us out a piece of paper and said we're going to have a 4-star hotel. Is it a 3-star or a 4-star? We baiting and switching here? You know, I get really nervous with this. Swerdlow himself came up here and said he's going to build high-rise condominiums. Okay. When we look at on the Biscayne Landing Market and Economic Impact Analysis, on page 4, it says the multifamily residential component of Biscayne Landings will be designed and built as condominiums. However, based on the current strength of the rental market, residential units will initially be marketed as high-end rentals. Now, who's kidding who? You're going to build an apartment house, and you're going to rent it out, and then 30 years later, you're going to turn it around into a condo? Now, come on, folks. I got some grave concerns. And you know, I trust you people up there to make the right decision. But we got to nail down more things here. We got to cross our T and dot our I's. Because when we put this spine road in, folks, we're going to be living with this. You know, when my colleague came up here and he talked about the mall, the shopping center, this is 1950 vintage. That's not what we want out there. Look, I don't have anything against workforce housing. I don't have there's a need for it, and I believe in that. But you have to have an economic balance in any city. If we're going to be a charitable city, we have to have a tax base to have that charity, and I believe in that charity. But if we don't have a tax base, or we don't have high-end residential property to give us that taxes, then we're going to be a poor city and nobody benefits. We need a balance. You know, a couple of months ago, we came before us on Northeast 6th Avenue, 135th Street, with a beautiful project to go up over there for workforce housing, and I believe in it. But you just cannot take this project out there and not have any guarantees, and I am worried. And that's why I say I'd like to see our T's crossed and our I's dotted. We're not trying to slow this project down. I'm not trying to hold it up. I'm pro-development. I vote mayor. You know that. I've been pro-development. I want to see a great project out there. But please, folks, you know, I said send them back to the Planning Commission. Let's nail some more of these things down. When we can rest assured that it's going to be done right, then we send it back to you. That's my only objective. When you put me on this commission, my sworn obligation to the citizens of this city and to you, the council, was to give you my level best opinion, and that's what I'm doing here tonight. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chief. Chief, you referred to Bob Moses. Bob Moses was the civil rights leader in the 60s. He came down to the South and registered other black folks to vote.
Bob Moses.
No, the Bob Moses of the, Bob Moses was the big empire builder.
Oh, yeah, that's right, okay.
The parks, he had the parks up there. If you remember, he had the Housing Authority, Tri-Borough Bridge and Tunnel Authority.
He was a master builder.
And I mean, let's talk about this.
I didn't read about him. I read about the civil rights leader.
Mayor, you know all the parkways going out to Jones Beach. Let me tell you a little bit about Bob Moses. The parkways going out to Jones Beach, you know why the buses can't get on them? You know why he built them low? Because he did not want black people to use the beaches out on Long Island.
No wonder why.
That's exactly why. You know, I just finished a book on him.
Yeah.
And you know what? He did some good things, but the book is called The Power Broker. That's not the same Bob Moses that went down south. No.
Right, the one that was registered black people.
They're not even related.
All right, thank you, sir. All right.
Hi, good evening. Rick Dobrinsky, 12985 Ortega Lane. I'm going to make this pretty short. I also have my concerns. I don't see why we're rushing into anything, and I'm just going to focus on one thing, is kids. There's 2,000 kids that go to A-rated schools in Biscayne Landings. I don't know why you would pass anything not knowing where these kids are going to go to school. They made some reference about maybe we'll put a school here, maybe we'll put a school there. We've talked to the school board, they're okay with it. I'm not so sure. I spoke with Dr. Karp. He's got a lot of concerns about where these kids are going to go to school. I know your son goes or your kids go to that school. I don't want to see our kids sent to a different school because we didn't think this through. I mean, this should be the most important thing for us as a community, is education. And to pass a plan that doesn't have any answers to what's going to happen to 2,000 kids of all walks of life, by the way, right? It's a type 1 school. I think it's a big mistake, and I just don't see the rush to pass anything today till they have some more concrete answers and we meet with the school board and we understand what's going to happen to our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no one else willing to be heard? Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive, North Miami. If this conceptual conditional use permit is just about a spine road, and that's it, why don't you just send it back, wipe the slate clean, and tell them to come in with just a road? No placement of residential, no placement of car lots, no placement of shopping center. If it's truly just about a little spine road, send it back and bring a plan that just shows a road. But as you all know, it's more than just a spine road. That's like saying, when we put I-95 in, that didn't dictate the east from the west, from the areas of Miami that were going to prosper, from the areas of Miami that weren't going to do so well. You have a very limited site here. You have 16 conditions, and it's like getting married. But each partner is saying, oh, by the way, these are my following conditions. After we're married, you got to meet all these conditions. Why don't you try to meet those conditions now before you get married to see if you still want to get married? The problem you have too many unanswered questions. And I'm just going to use the developer's comments. There is no Santa Claus. If it ain't in writing, I don't have to do it. Mr. Mayor, you answered a question a few months ago in reference to a councilman asked something, what happened to some funds? And you said, it ain't in writing, the developer doesn't have to do it. Because that's what has been the comments for years now. If it's not in writing, it doesn't have to get done. There is no rush tonight, because in just a few weeks I'm going to have to deal and unwrap whatever this is passed tonight, and I prefer not to do that. Mr. Mayor, you ought to look forward to say, let me pass it on and give that headache, because you know this is a headache, to somebody else, or I can, deal with it, and then we're going to have to go all through it all over again, because as they're saying, it's just a spine road, but it's not. And when I've been in the community, people from all walks of life are asking, what the heck is going on out there? I'll tell you, there's a whole lot of people that are panicking about the schools, very concerned. David Lawrence is at 140% capacity today with the existing boundaries, without a single new residents out at Biscayne Landings. ATM is overcrowded already. You have some serious issues. If it's not about where the plan is at and that things are going to change 100 times before it comes back before the council and to be readdressed over and over again, at least get rid of some of these conditions that are marring this project. Some of them can be very easily answered with a month or 2 months of studies and so forth. There's lots of traffic studies that have been done out there that can be incorporated into a new one. They show on the map a road that goes between the Costco and the Pet Mart, and I asked the councilwoman from North Miami Beach that was sitting here, I said, have you all seen this concept? And I said, it's going through your city, and she said, no, know nothing about it. So we need to really take a look at it, and as you move this project forward, because we know it's going to go forward because we just about spent all the money that Biscayne Landings has already put up front for the next 5 years. So we know it's going to happen, but it has to be something that's going to last, that's going to be an improvement to the community, not be a burden to the community. And folks, the shopping center concept, somebody remembered and said it looked like Northside Shopping Center. Somebody said it looked like 79th Street Shopping Center. I believe that the new architect that they brought in is one of the finest architects in South Florida or the country. And with a little bit of time, we'll be able to make a really outstanding project. But at this point in time, I think you are trying to hurry this through for whatever reason. And again, it's not just a spine road. Thank you.
Anyone else wishes to be heard on this item?
Hi, my name is Dan Lynch, and I live at 14951 Royal Oaks Lane, Biscayne Landing. And I would like the master plan, approval of the master plan be contingent on Mr. Swartlow promised $2.5 million to help us build our amenities. And he promised that to you, he promised that to us, he promised that to, I think, several different organizations. But I would like, as a condition of the master plan approval, that he follow through with that promise and give us the $2.5 million that he promised.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishes to be heard on this item? Okay, hearing none, we're moving forward.
Comments, is it time for that now?
Public hearing, once we close public hearing, we'll get you back up there for, that's the public hearing is not closed, you can come up. Sure, Mr. Tillman and Mr. Shulman. The first issue, the promise of the $2.5 million for the Oaks. I know initially when we sent out the RFP, there was a request of $17.5 million. Rather than getting $17.5 million, we get $20 million. So was that $2.5 million to be given to the Oaks to build the amenities, or what was that $2.5 million for?
Mr. Mayor, the RFP did not require anything having to do with the Oaks. And so there was no obligation. We did not condition the payment to the city. If the city chooses to use that money for that purpose, that's fine.
Okay.
But there was no obligation on our part to basically make such a contribution.
Okay.
Yeah, the money was addressed in the original RFQ that was sent out back in June of 2011.
Okay.
It never carried over from then because that RFQ actually followed an initial attempt by Mr. Swerdlow in April, previous to that, to purchase the existing lease that was terminated by the other developer and its lender. So there was a series of progressions of events that took place starting in March of 2011 when the city terminated that lease, carried through an April offer by Mr. Swerdlow to buy that lease for $10 million. Part of that offer to buy that lease was to encourage the Oaks support of the Swerdlow Group to engage the city to sell that lease for $10 million. And in addition to that $10 million, Mr. Swerdlow promised to put $2.5 million additional toward their amenities building. And then if he was successful in buying the 160 or so remaining units, he was going to add more to that. That was the initial offer. That has changed over the following months when the city elected to, instead of selling the existing lease, to go through the RFP process. The RFQ process started. There was some mention of the Oaks amenities in it. It never carried to the RFP. even though it was responded by both participants in the RFQ. I'm sorry for all these acronyms and anyway, long and short of it is, when we got to the point where we started negotiations with the city as the sole remaining respondent to the request for proposal, that issue was never entertained, and in fact, at that time, the land was then conveyed by the city manager to the Oaks, which added about 4.5 acres to them, and there's been various versions of why that land was conveyed. I think it was a process that may have started back when Snow Mountain was here, and the Oaks residents were concerned about not having unfettered ingress and egress. That is what I know about the issue. Now, let's bring it fast forward to today. As you heard me mention earlier, we have poised an offer to Mr. Hellinger's group, of which money is just one component, contributing towards improvements on their property and improvements that they will use along with the residents on our project is part of the components that was offered in that initial offer to them. There's going to be some negotiations that's going to take place. Additional items that are going to be addressed is a stormwater management plan, stormwater management construction on their property as well as ours, and some shared use, if they so agree, to areas of ingress and egress across their property. But that all that requires their agreement first. That's why you didn't see it on this proposal that we offered tonight. We didn't show that spur road going out to 151st Street. We didn't show ingress and egress to our additional buildings to the south of their building. That's all to be negotiated. When we finalize that, we will show it on our plan. We will make the city aware of that final arrangement. And hopefully, if we do this right, and the Oaks residents and their receiver does it right, everybody will be happy, and this $2.5 million will be a thing of the past. That's our intention, and I'm sure that's theirs.
And lastly, I'd like to thank Mr. Hellinger. He's truly a gentleman in basically saying that he has no objection as long as what we're talking about is basically a concept plan and not, dyed in the wool, written in stone. And he's a real gentleman by basically saying that he would support the conceptual plan.
Or do you oppose his item?
Say again?
Or do you oppose his item?
Well, that's because I'm saying he's a real gentleman. I didn't say I was.
Oh.
I mean, I'm giving him a compliment.
Good. He's
laughed, too.
Mr. Hellinger's actually not here.
Just one second. Make it to the microphone. I mean, you could come to the microphone if you have something to say. Go ahead.
Mayor, council members, councilwoman, staff. My name is Jeffrey Berman from the Katz, Barron, Squatero, Faust law firm. I represent the association, the condominium association over at the Oaks. I just wanted to be clear that the association and the receiver have no issue and would not oppose the conceptual plan, not just with the concept that it's a conceptual plan, but that as a conceptual plan, it provides for certain phasing, as the receiver indicated. I just want the record to be clear, given what Mr. Schulman just said. It's about, okay, you're going to put the retail here and you're going to put the residential here, and not about a road or a sidewalk or where a particular tree will be or how tall a building's going to be. So I just want to clarify that.
Okay.
And given that and the conditions that are in the proposed resolution before the council tonight, I don't think that there should be any issue with passage, given that understanding that with passage of this resolution.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, Mr. Mayor, if I might, just because I am a lawyer, you're governed by certain criteria that have to be followed in conditional use approvals, and the granting of some benefit to a third party would not really fall within that criteria legally.
Okay. On April 11th, 2011, Mr. Swedlow emailed a letter to one of the Oaks residents saying that I'm going to spend about $2 to $3 million to develop the amenities, including the recreation center, the guard gate and lobby renovation, and make significant additional improvements at the Oaks if I'm the successful bidder to acquire the 160 units sold at the Oaks.
And he was not.
Okay. On May 17, 2011, Mr. Swedlow made a promise to the city that he will contribute $2.5 million would go directly to construction of the pool, and we're doing the lobby of the Oaks.
That was if you gave him the property without going out for RFP at $10 million, then he could afford to do that. The city chose to go to RFP, and Mr. Swerdlow laid out, instead of $10 million, over $20 million.
Uh-huh. So that's the reason why that $2.5 million has not really gone to the Oaks, is that it?
That's correct.
Okay. Mayor Frank Wallen made a point about the local contractors, which is Section 35, that actually hit a nerve with me. What happened to 150 truck drivers that are going in and out to deliver, I guess, whatever that may be, to fill the lakes?
I'll let Mr. Tillman basically address that, since he's been handling that program.
And I know, sometimes, how rich people get around the local preference. You could have 10 residents working at $7 an hour, while you have 200 non-resident working at $50 or $200 an hour. So it seemed to me you would still meet the local preference requirement, but the intent of the local preference requirement is not to violate the intent of that local preference requirement. And it seemed to me that's what Mayor Frank Wallen, or either he was saying both: one, you guys are not there, or two, even if you are there, you're not actually complying.
Yeah, Mr. Wallen's pretty close on that one in the fact that we have increased the delivery of fill onto that site over the last 3 months. It's presented a major problem for us. Now, I'm sure Mr. Wallen didn't mean that we had the intent to deceive or the intent not to meet the requirements, but the fact is, in this city, you can't even own a truck and park it in your front yard due to the zoning ordinance. Is that a correct statement, Maxine? So you give that idea, that information, and couple that with the fact that in excess of 95% of the truckers in this county are owner-operators and report to brokers. They have to choose, if they were going to be an owner-operator in this city, they would have to choose to pay to park that truck somewhere else, and it kind of takes them out of the competitive ability. That's one issue. Number two issues, we've gone to great lengths. Mr. Silver, the staff on a local preference group, as well as other entrepreneurs, have all been collaborating over the last 2 months to figure out how are we going to cure this problem. The cure is not to stop taking fill on the site. The cure is to find an entrepreneur or some other interested entity, some business person, to commit to leasing trucks with City of North Miami drivers. There are plenty of people we found through the job fairs that possess that CDL license required to drive that truck, but they can't own the truck and park it in their front yard in this city. And in addition to that, most of them are not well enough off financially to purchase a piece of equipment that could cost $120 to $140 million. $1,000. But we're working hard to address this issue.
But
we have three contracts. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but hold on. I thought that was the purpose of Section 35. Those that do have the license and cannot afford to get on their feet, you're supposed to give them that money so they could get on their feet. So why not give them the $140,000 to buy the truck? Maybe they can park it in the city. Maybe they could park it in Little Haiti, and and probably take the bicycle to the City of North Miami. And when they're ready to get back to work, take the bicycle to Little Haiti, get on their truck, and start, filling that requirement.
We're offering them a better deal than that, sir. And that's exactly where I was going with it. We're making that money available to people who want to take that risk. We've been speaking to at least 3 contractors now and several individual operators to do that. And better than parking them elsewhere outside of the city and bicycling to them, I'm going to offer them parking on the site if they're willing to take that risk. Now, we need to help them get signed up on a lease program with a truck. There are some financial issues with that. New trucks don't seem to fit the economic model, but used trucks do. We're working our way through that, but we all know we have a problem there. We're working diligently to resolve the problem, but still, even at its worst right now, we're still 11.2% of the employees on that site, including the truck drivers, are City of North Miami residents. It's going to be better next quarter, I'll guarantee you that. But we're not at the 10% minimum requirement. We don't intend to go to the 10% minimum requirement, and we're putting things in place now to cure that problem.
Okay. Now, the issue is, I kept hearing that this is a conceptual plan, and that's all it is. And being a conceptual plan, that, it doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to be there. And if it is what's going to be there, but you still have to come to this, go through the planning commission and come to the city for approval upon each and every single project, including the roads, or even put the dealership there, or the 5-star hotel, or even a building. Am I understanding this is exactly what this is? This is just a conceptual plan, but for you to move forward to build, you would need the approval of this council?
You understand perfectly, sir. There's a precise plan, submittal, and approval process that leads to an actual construction set of drawings that are also reviewed for consistency, for compliance, and permitted by your building department. It goes through the planning and zoning for precise plan. It goes through your building department for the actual construction drawing. So you get 2 more bites at every single apple that you saw in that master plan.
And, Mr. Mayor, if I might bring to your attention condition number 4 of Ms. Callaway, submit an amended conditional use permit application and precise plan for each future phase of the development, showing detailed site layout, building architecture, massing, elevations in accordance with the city zoning code. Specific condition.
Okay. Councilman Glenn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I listened to all this tonight, and I'm very interested how the citizens feel about this. I am very cautious. I'm worried, and I do have concerns of what you're doing. First of all, I think you're going to have an enormous traffic problem. Some type of traffic study has to be initiated immediately. Number 2, I was under the impression from Mr. Swallow at one time that he might exchange Target, the post office, and Costco and include it into this plan. That has never been discussed here tonight, but it's a real possibility. So that's something that will have to be considered. And maybe even some of the trailer homes, I'll be frank with you. That's something that has not been looked at whatsoever, and I'm worried about that. Then, and I'm concerned about a roadway to FIU or a walkway, which is not on this plan whatsoever. 4th, there is a toxic lake, a very toxic lake. It's always going to be that way. I personally think that has to be filled in. You haven't really addressed that either. The mall, in my opinion, should be the most beautiful mall in Miami. This is a signature property. It's the last great piece of property left on Biscayne Boulevard, anywhere, maybe in not just Dade County, but all of Florida of this size. You need to build something that's going to be not just beautiful, but something that looks like it's out of Las Vegas, like a major hotel that is splendid and beautiful, and people look at it and say, that's incredibly magnificent. That is not on here either. Your design is very basic and very primitive, in my opinion. Highest and best use? Well, I'll be frank with you, ladies and gentlemen. As the market changes, the highest and best use for this property will change too. Someday Swirlo could very well be coming in here, and I might not be here, asking for 30 or 35-story buildings. That's going to be a possibility because the condo market is getting hotter and hotter and hotter. You're looking to lease these facilities out. There's a possibility when they're built, they all will be sold. They have to be built to those specifications. I don't think a lease apartment is built the highest specifications that you can have. That's something else that has to be considered.
I'd like to address that as soon as you're done, Councilman, because I have some good information for you on that, as well as Commissioner Each.
I think we have to hold Mr. Swirlo's feet to the fire. They once asked J.P. Morgan, what can you tell me certain about the stock market? You know what he said? It fluctuates. And so does Mr. Swirlo fluctuates. As economics change, he changes his position. He has promised people over the years certain things that have never come to fruition, including, obviously, what we discussed tonight with two high-rises that don't have any recreation facilities. Those people were promised, they got nothing. His answer is, it has to be in writing. Well, I think this plan has to be in writing to be suitable for the city, and it isn't. The written plan is one thing, but a plan, what I'm looking at here, is not sufficiently written, so to speak. I'm looking at 14 high-rise condos. 3 of them overlook a shopping center mall. They really have to be moved. I can't see him selling them at all. I'll be frank with you. They are not in the right position. And finally, the schools. You're going to need 2 schools there. There could be 10, 12,000 people living there. You have not made anything at all about building a school, any land, any place at all. It's not on here. It's going to be built 2 schools in our probability. The present schools are 120, 30, 40% over enrollment. You're going to have 10, 12,000 people living in here if things go right economically. Where are those children? If only 10% of those people are children, you're going to have 1,000, 1,200 children. That concurrency is not sufficient to carry that into reality. The reality is you have not planned well. And the reason is you want to do this rapidly. I can understand you want to make money rapidly, but not at the expense of the citizens of North Miami. You need to do this in a manner that reflects what I just said to you tonight, in a manner that will look prestigious to the city, that will be something we can be proud of, the citizens of Miami, North Miami. North Miami wants to be proud of this. Swirlo wants to make money. Somehow you have to combine those 2 aims into something that we can both accept here on the city council.
Okay.
I feel that we have to put Swirlo's feet to the fire. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just 1 second. Is there some conditions you want to add to the conceptual plan? Or
Yeah. The 3 condominiums or rental properties have to be removed and put in a place where they don't have half of their residents looking into a shopping center. That's going to be a very shabby place. The shopping center has to be upgraded. The toxic lake probably should be filled in. It is too dangerous to remain there. Some type of pathway or some type of method of getting to FIU has to be constructed.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
You need a signature property, one that is outstanding. That my major concern is it's not going to fall into that category. And it's going to be something that citizens will not be happy with. And I won't be happy with either, unless it's something we can be proud of.
All right, may I respond, Mr. Mayor?
Sure,
Okay.
proceed.
So I've heard several people reference no traffic study being done. That there is a traffic impact study has been done by Atkins Engineers. I have representatives of the company here. If you want to get into it, we can get into the detail. I don't know if that's going to serve your purposes, but the traffic studies have been done more than once. They've been done initially with the conceptual plan that we offered with the lease. They've been followed up on since then. They do identify some major issues that most of you in this room have experienced at one time or another. I know I experience them at least 3 times a day. We understand that. Part of our proposal is going to require that we improve those intersections, but we also have to get some participation and are currently working on doing that with the loads that have been imposed by the county as well as the state on 151st Street in particular. We're in the process of getting that participation, but at the end of the day, they have to be done because we are selling units on this site. We're not going to sell 1 unit if a prospective buyer can't get into the site. Sits through 4 light changes out there. We recognize that. So please take the time and review the study that was included with the package. Was included. Okay? And you can take time to talk to our consultants. They're in the back of the room. Victor, can you put your hand up? There he is. Victor with Atkins Engineering and his traffic consultant are right here. If you want to take the whole time, we can do it now. If you want to talk to them, they'll be available for you. But we've studied this ad nauseum, both that intersection and 143rd Street. Costco and Target, we talked about bringing Costco on the site, even had a plan or 2 showing it. Target's not interested. Costco, we found another solution that will keep them there and act as a shadow anchor. As far as the trailer park, we've had discussions for that. All those properties are owned fee simple. I don't know how we can resolve that entryway through that trailer
And the
park,
post
and I'm not
office.
sure that we want to. The lake fill. Would we prefer to fill that lake? I would say so. It provides us more developable property, but we have to find tenant uses for it before we go to that level. And you may see that 2 or 3 generations down the road. As far as the lake being toxic, it's no more toxic than the groundwater. It's going to be remediated with the groundwater remediation system.
Yeah, but the groundwater is under the water, under concrete. The lake is exposed to everybody.
Well, let's be clear on the lake and the groundwater. The EPA, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and the Dade County Department of Environmental Resources Management have all said there is no threat to the public health, safety, or welfare from either the groundwater or surface water. In all honesty, to even label it toxic is not only factually inaccurate, but it puts a blight on the property. Okay? This is your property. You want it to be maximized so that
No,
you
it's
can-
your property now.
Well, no, we're in this together, okay?
Yeah, we
You
need to
it be
collaborate.
you need it to be successful, but when you use toxic, it just is not part of the facts. This parcel has been studied more than virtually any other parcel in the history of the state of Florida, and all of them agree it is not toxic.
Okay, I'll get to one other.
No, I haven't seen any of those studies. I haven't seen a traffic study either. And let me frankly tell you, if you change the parameters, you're going to need a new traffic study, because you're going to produce car traffic that's going to look like Aventura at Christmas time, and that'll be 12 months of the year if you're not careful.
And that's why Ms. Callaway, in conditions 9, 10, and 11, say, update the traffic study, update the traffic study, update it again. And because she didn't necessarily trust Atkins, our traffic engineers, the city hired Kittleson and Associates, okay, as their traffic engineer. They did their study. And Ms. Callaway incorporates in condition number 12, applicant must comply with the DRC recommendations provided by contract your engineers, traffic engineers, Kittleson and Sons. So they basically built in here our compliance with your traffic engineer's recommendation.
We collaborate you on the city council. I have never seen a traffic study. Could you present one to me?
You'll have one first thing in the morning, sir.
That's
on your email,
at least
okay? And I'll
no less than
share it
6
with the
months
rest
old.
of you. Again, it's going to have to be updated every time, as Mr. Schulman said. Have no problem sharing the work of our design consultants.
Now, one other thing, Mr. Glenn, if I might.
That's in this package.
I know you're afraid of
Studies in this
Mr.
package.
I know you're afraid of Mr. Swerdlow, quote, leaving you at the dance, okay?
He's done it before.
He didn't have $25 million in your pocket, okay? He came up, and you wanted to make sure, what did the manager say before? You know, I'd rather see the money today than tomorrow. This commission, in point of fact, Mr. Blinn, you basically said, I want a minimum of $17.5 million so Mr. Swerdlow won't leave us at the
Yes,
dance.
I'm the one who demanded that. No one else on the council demanded any money.
But I'm just saying, you didn't want him to walk away from the dance, and you got more
No,
than
because he was the
17.5.
best possible developer for land that is really a dump at one time, and it hasn't gotten that much better. I mean, this land has problems. It's contained some of the problems, but it still has problems. It has to be cleaned up.
And we're in the process of doing that.
Okay. Then one other thing I do want to touch on, Councilman, is a reference to land values that you may not be aware of. We did a land valuation analysis on the 3 major type of products that we have on that site. The big box retail center, a potential rental apartment building that you've heard referenced, you know, throughout the evening here, and a for sale condo product. Those valuations came out $635,000 per acre is what that retail, that big box product throws. $800,000 per acre is what a rental apartment building throws as a developer, and we're land users, landowners like yourself. But more importantly, a for sale condominium, even just a mid-range for sale condominium product, throws off $2.5 million per acre in land value. So you've got to know which one we're going to push, which one we're going to occupy as much of that property as we
You're
can
gonna
and
put on
still
that
make
property
sense.
where you can make the most money.
That's it. And make the city the most money. The city shares in that. That's the point. put
We
people
want
to
something
work, bring
splendid.
money through this
We want
city.
something
That's what
beautiful,
we're doing.
something the city can be proud of, too.
High-end condos, yes, sir, you bet. Just exactly what Mr. Each was asking for if he's still in the audience. We're giving you what you asked for. That 3-star hotel, 4-star hotel, minimum 3-star hotel, of course, but what are we going to do? We're going to build something that's going to bring people to the site.
If I had my way, it'd be 5-star.
Okay, so would I, sir.
Okay. What about the issue with the school? I mean, that's very
With
important.
the school, yeah, absolutely.
That's very important to a lot of us, and you heard from, I guess, David Lawrence, ATM,
Mhm.
some of the parents. You know, I mean, what's going to happen is, I guess because I'm on the other side, and a lot of us are on the other side, then where are we going to put the kids to school?
Exactly, and we're going to hear that if we don't figure it out quickly, because again, you go back to, you're selling a luxury condo to a purchaser that's going to start a life in a new location, in a residence, and that person's going to go up to their unit on the 14th floor and look out over the mangroves and see the rooftops of 2 schools within a stone's throw. You could walk to there and not even break a sweat. To the K through 8, the David Lawrence, and the Alonzo Morning High School. And am I going to tell them, yes, you got to buy this unit, but you're going to bus your kid 30 miles away because that school's full of people that are bused from another 30 miles away? No, sir, I'm going to solve that problem.
Put
I
something
won't
on
be
the
able to sell
conceptual
units.
plan where a school could be. You can change it, but put something on there so you know we're going to have one.
Yeah, and that conversation took place Thursday of last week, was it? Here we are Tuesday night, 4 business days ago, we sat with the school board, we said, look, we know technically by your analysis we meet concurrency and we don't have to do anything. But we're developers of condo units, for sale products. We need to satisfy the people that are buying these units. We talked with them. We identified some options that you heard me talk about earlier, some of which are, let's talk to FIU about maybe some property. Let's try and look into expanding to David Lawrence. The biggest need, by the way, are the K through 8 seats. There's like 230 seats needed for K through 8 that property is going to require. The lesser needs, the high school, but let's address the greater need first. And while we were sitting there, Anna, I forget her last name, one of the people that, yeah, exactly. Anna Riacondo took a liking, did I mess that up? I'm sorry.
Conde.
Okay, Conde. Took a liking to the area around the active park because there could be some cross usage of the school with the park that could go through the through the afternoon and so forth. It seemed like the right fit to her. I'm looking at it real hard right now. I had my architects carve that area out and see, is there room for a 7.2 acre park and about a 2 acres worth of school? And guess what? There is. So now it's time to really get serious about this. Does that make sense? We want to talk with y'all. You're the property owners. You got your 7.2 acre park there. Do you want a school next to it? Sounds to me like you might be thinking about it. But that's
Have a
one
school near a
solution.
park, absolutely.
FIU's a solution. Expand David K. Lawrence is another solution. We had 3 good solutions right there. And redistricting is the one that I like the least, but that's another solution that you have to consider because we want our kids going to school where they can walk. Our sales pitch is, you move your family here, you can walk to school from kindergarten through graduate school. That's our sales pitch. You can go from kindergarten to a doctorate without even getting in a vehicle. So that's my sales pitch for
And I also would just note that condition number 14 that is proposed by Ms. Callaway basically indicates that even though we meet level of service standards for capacity, the applicant is strongly encouraged to identify property within the development for the construction of a school to accommodate the additional student capacity anticipated, and that the applicant will meet with the city, the Miami-Dade County School District staff to discuss the appropriate mitigation needed to satisfy those requirements.
You need to identify where the schools will be. They might not be there someday. Maybe the 2 schools that are there will be expanded, which is quite possible. They could double the capacity, and you'll get this property back. But I want to identify it now, and until you do a plan like that, I can't approve this.
Well, in all honesty, the school board is not willing yet to commit, nor is the city basically agreed as to where it should go or how it should go. We are committed to basically work it out, because as Mr. Tillman says, it's in our own best interest to make sure that school is taken care of, because if we don't build them, they won't come.
Well, thank you. Councilman Marsalis?
Yeah, Mr. Manager, through you, may I have a questions to Planning Director?
Yes. I asked Maxine Calloway to come to the podium.
Yeah, Maxine, I think I don't know if the council is aware that we have a traffic study, and I think I repeat that over and over. We do not have a traffic study. Why we have a master plan for this project? And Mr. Tillman just mentioned, yes, we have a traffic study. We do have a traffic study on it?
Yes, Councilman, we do have a traffic study, and in fact, in the staff report that staff has presented to the council on page on page 4, section 4, we have mentioned the traffic study, which also includes the trip generation for AM trip and for PM trip. Certainly, we can also provide a copy of that traffic study to your office first thing in the morning if it's not included in your packet.
If we have a traffic study, why we have to approve this item with 16 conditions? Why?
Because several of the conditions is regarding updated traffic studies that will be required when the developer is going vertical. The residential component and your vertical component is not expected until 2014 or 2015. So staff has conditioned it at each phase that an updated traffic study be submitted.
I think when I was listening to Mr. Frank Holland, I think his concern, I have the same concern like his concern. And we call the word spine road. Okay. What if right now we just approve this project and with the spine road, and do they have everything they need?
Unfortunately, Councilman, based on your code, this process is necessary and required in order to get to the spine road application. So without a conceptual master plan, then the applicant would be unable to process an amendment for the spine road. So what's before you tonight is not a spine road. It's not for you to look at a spine road. It's a conceptual master plan, which is the initial process that will then allow you to accept an application and review an application for the spine road.
So the spine road is not being approved tonight.
That's not before you.
It allows us to file the application for a specific site plan of conditional use approval for the spine road.
Hence the many conditions, one of which, again, is that each phase is required to submit a precise plan that will be reviewed by the Planning Commission and by this body. And the spine road is your first phase.
So what the difference between the conceptual plan and the master plan and the spine road? So it seems like there is so many confusions, because first thing we keep talking about the spine road. Now you say no, it's not spine road. It's the conceptual plan that has to be approved before we can apply for the. That's what is it?
That is correct, Councilman.
Okay. There is any way tonight, if we approve this conceptual plan, and how long it will take them to get the spine road?
The applicant was initially proposing to bring it forward for the Planning Commission in May. They're a bit delayed, so they have told us that they expect to have it on the Planning Commission in June, which means then this body would see it at the last meeting in June.
So they're just going to apply for the spine road, and
the spine road is your first phase, yes.
And they get it, and that's it.
No. Once they've made the application for the spine road, then it goes through the Development Review Committee as an initial review. Then it goes to the Planning Commission as an amendment to this conditional use permit, and then it comes to council for your review. And it gives you an opportunity to see it in a more detailed fashion.
So what we're going to approve tonight, that's the conceptual plan.
The conceptual plan that
can you
includes
be more
your
elaborate on this thing for me? On the conceptual plan, please.
As was mentioned before, the conceptual plan as approved in your lease agreement has changed. So the developer, based on the ordinance, has to submit a new conceptual plan that will delineate the phasing of the construction, which is included in the packet that you have, the placement of the various uses on the property, which you have done as a part of the phase-in, And then that's your initial conditional use permit. And then for each phase, which is included in your packet, Spine Road being the first phase, the commercial component, including the auto mall, being your second phase, I think the adult living facility being the third phase, and your residential being the fourth phase, each phase would then have to come back as an amendment to the conditional use permit and would have to be reviewed by the Planning Commission and the council.
Okay. And probably I may have a question for the city manager now. City manager, I went with you to Lake City and Newport, New Jersey, and we saw nice, beautiful building, and this is the thing that you promised we're going to have in Biscayne Landing. And according to what we have in this plan right now, is nothing like that. How you can explain that, and can you explain that in detail to me?
Through the mayor, Councilman Marcellus, what you had an opportunity was to see the ability of the developer and what they could potentially bring to our site. One of the challenges that the developer has is what we're experiencing now. What they simply would like to do is show a blueprint. It's sort of like a house print, a floor plan. So they would like to get way under that to show you a floor plan so that they can move forward. It's not the house, it's just a floor plan. And I think that the confusion is that in the developer's ability to present the floor plan, they're showing furniture. And the Planning Commission doesn't like the furniture. But that's not the role. It's just to look at the floor plan, and the floor plans change. So by having a floor plan, at least later on, we could show the furniture that perhaps the Planning Commission would then have an opportunity to look at and bring back to this body. The developer, what we saw in Newport, New Jersey, was market-driven. So they moved their project along based upon the market. What the developer's simply saying here, here's a floor plan. Look at the floor plan, and we can come back later and talk about where the couch is going to go, where
What it's going to look like.
what it's
The
going to
building.
actually look like. So what staff is recommending that we do is that we have a floor plan like a house that you would see, and later on we will come back and show you what the furniture is going to look like and the placement of the furniture, how tall the wall unit is going to be. Don't get mixed up in that, but just basically accept the
I
floor
thought
plan.
you probably get me mixed with something else when you say where the furniture is going to be and things like that. And we're talking about a floor plan, a floor plan, that's what it's mean a floor plan that is going to design and according, to the plan. But my question is that since the floor plan that we have right now, I think is nothing like the Lake and Newport, New Jersey. But the other questions, and if we approve this item tonight, how often they can come and change the floor plan that you try to explain me now?
They will come, this site is a working document. It's a working conceptual plan. They will always be coming
And
to
to change it.
change. Absolutely. You have to during development because the market condition can change. It may not be conducive for a lot of residential. It may be commercial driven, at which time the developer will seek that opportunity, come back, present a new conceptual plan that would have to go before the Planning Commission, then would have to come before this body. And the reason why it's in the contract that the developer has the right to change the conceptual plan, because what we want to do is have the developer to have the opportunity to be successful on the site. So therefore, what we experience by looking at the developer up north is how they don't build until the market is attractive for a particular, either a building, and that's why they had a very good success rate of having a high occupancy. So they look at the market, they look at the residents, they look at the opportunity, and then they move forward along those lines. What we did in the contract was we mandated a certain amount of square footage within a certain amount of years. After that and moving forward, it's all market driven. So the conceptual plan will always change. It would always come before the Planning Commission, and it would always come before this body. And it's all based upon the market of what's available and what the demand is.
This is probably my last questions. And we know many times during our agreement or discussions with this project, Mr. Swedlow stood up here and he said he's going to give the Hawks $2.5 million for the amenities. I think he didn't say it once, but he thinks it more than over and over. And we just have a gentleman from the Oaks that says, please make this thing as a conditions. If we're going to pass this item, make that one of the conditions. And how do we explain this thing for this item to pass it without leave Mr. Swedlow out, not make him entitled to give these people the money that he promised over and over?
Through the Mayor, Councilman, as I had indicated when the Oaks came up, my comment was not probably favorable to the ears of Mr. Schuman when I said that that document is not the right venue to try to get the Oaks to be a part of a master plan. The same way with this, in being fair, this is not the venue on the conceptual plan to make the Oaks do something. There's other opportunities that the city will capitalize on to make sure that we can get both of those parties together at a table to sit down where everybody's happy. And we're moving forward with that. We were able to sit down and get the Oaks what they wanted tonight through just simply a deal with iStar.
Mr. Johnson, you heard that Mr. Swedlow said it. The city has the money. I do not have the money. The city has the money. That's the reason I cannot give it to you. So now the people at the Hawks still hanging.
I think through the Mayor, Councilman Marcellus, the passing of this document should not be the venue for that. We can address that in another opportunity, but the concept plan, we should not tie the two together. We should explore other options, and I don't want to discuss them tonight, but there are other options and opportunities where we can get the Oaks and Alita Partners to come together and make this project and make everyone happy concurrently. But this document should not be tied in to a disagreement of $2.5 million for amenities.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I waste my question for now.
Any changes, any addition, any additions you want to?
There is three things Mr. Blends has mentioned that we have to include to it. I think I'm in line with them. And myself, I really believe the $2.5 million for the Hawks, we have to make sure, because we cannot allow the developer to continue and to do it over and over to them. There is a time we have to stop it. And I think the government, we cannot let the developer screw them up over and over. We have to stop it. And myself, and I think I will demand for this thing, for this item, for this $2.5 million is one of the conditions, and for me to vote for it.
Okay. Are you willing to accept those conditions that Councilman Marcellus just referred to?
No, sir, and for this reason. You heard me speak a while back at least one time, and I'm thinking I said it twice. We are currently trying to resolve this with the Oaks receiver as well as the other attorneys involved. That resolution should take place at the advice of some of the staff. We've been working here in an agreement between us and the Oaks that's going to include many items. The offer of the $2.5 million, however it was couched, not being the issue here, but the fact that there was an offer made of money in exchange for support is recognized. What the result of that support was to be, maybe in some difference of opinion, depending on who you talk to, but we are in an effort right now to negotiate with the receiver of the Oaks and the other attorneys to resolve that and other issues related to our interconnection as fellow lessors of a single piece of property that is owned by the city, of which there are several environmental monitoring and reporting responsibility that the city currently is responsible for to other regulatory authorities. We've already resolved our issues with 184 acres with the city, and that we're taking that responsibility. But the open issue is related to the 9.7 acres that is the Oaks. We made an offer to them. Allow us to resolve the issue amongst ourselves, if you would be so kind. In absence of such, if the $2.5 million is going to resolve that particular offer, then all the rest of it is really a moot point right now, and I don't think that's in the city's best interest. I know it's not in the best interest of either of the two parties here, and I ask again that you follow the recommendations that your staff has forwarded to us to try and work it out. We're trying. The first offer was made today. We realize it's an issue on a front burner. Allow us to resolve it.
And lastly, I must reiterate, our belief is that this falls outside of the criteria of your conditional use approval, and the inclusion of that particular condition would be illegal and would not be sustainable in court.
Okay. Councilman Galvin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It sounds like you've got a lot of things that aren't yet worked out. In the packet that you gave us this evening, there are two separate maps. I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to be looking at.
I don't know of two separate maps.
There were two separate maps. One was bright and blotchy with colors. The other was contained in that glossy put together. There were two separate site maps. I'm not sure which site map I'm supposed to be approving. You mentioned that you've just entered some negotiations with the Oaks, and those aren't finalized. And then you underlined it by saying that's in what I took as a very veiled legal threat by saying that's not legally allowed to be discussed.
I just have to say it on the record.
Fair enough, but it didn't come across well to me. In fact, I might have just flipped a switch with me right there. Additionally, I'm not happy with where things stand for the schools. It has to be in writing before I'll vote in favor. Where they're going to put a new school, what the scenario will be, how they're going to redraw boundaries. I'll be darned if we just gave them land, and this isn't something that's in your control, but unless Mr. Karp is here this evening or somebody, Ms. Riacondi from the school board, we can't take them at face value that they're not going to cut North Miami students out of schools that are on North Miami land that we gave to them. I'm not going to be caught with that problem a year from now when they pull that over our eyes. Last concern I have is with the 143rd Street entrance into FIU. I think that's going to have to be a flyover. Let's not fool ourselves. Durham is not going to approve an at-grade road, 2-lane through the mangroves unless somebody from Durham is here this evening and can attest otherwise. So I think that more land needs to be put into this master plan to address a future flyover road, which obviously will take up more space than a two-lane at-grade floor-level road through the mangroves. I'd like you to consider a month's continuance. We don't meet 2 weeks from now or at the first meeting in May because of our elections. But I would be hopeful with a continuance for a month that it would give you the opportunity to resolve some of these things and bring them back to us in a more cemented fashion. Your agreement with the Oaks, what the school board plans to do, how we might build 143rd Street flyover into the plan. Are you open to that this evening?
Unfortunately, I can't be, Councilman, because those three items are going to take much more than a 1 month continuance to resolve. First of all,
3 month continuance.
You're probably closer to 9 for at least 143rd Street because
Mr. Tillman suggests
FIU
9 months.
No,
I'll
Mr. Tillman did not
second that
suggest.
motion for a 9 month continuance. I'm being very, very serious.
I understand.
The problem that we've always run into with Biscayne Landing when we talk about this historical site is promises made that aren't in writing.
Councilman,
I
you're
want
asking me
us.
exactly
I
a
want
promise
us
on
to
a piece of property I don't
Right.
control.
I get it. No, the school board's decision with the school is not within your purview. The Durham approval of a flyover road or at-grade road is not in your purview. I get it. I'm not faulting you. But I want to know that the school board isn't going to stick it to the citizens of the city, that Durham isn't going to stick it to the citizens of the city. There's no rush. I mean, the site's not going anywhere. We've got a 198-year lease. We just started, so, we've still got a ways to go. I don't see why taking another month or two, if necessary, to work things out isn't legitimate. So that's why I ask if you're open to a continuance. I suggested a month. If you don't think that's enough, I'm glad to go further.
I'm not open to a continuance, sir. We're paying interest on money that we borrowed over a year ago. Our project has to move to accomplish the goals it was originally conceived to accomplish, one of which is to put City of North Miami vendors to work, one of which is to establish a cash flow through this city that's going to make it economically healthy, and another, the third, and probably equally or more important right now, is to get some of these residents back to work. You're still over 15% unemployed in this city, I'm sorry to say, sir.
And I know those
by delaying
figures-
this project, it's not going to be healthy for that particular element. I just can't do it. My heart's not there.
Do I value the jobs of the community over the students that live here? Do I value the traffic impacts less
No,
than
sir,
jobs?
because one does not have to
They're all
precede the
equal.
other.
No, that's right. They're all equal. So we need to take all those things into equal consideration. We want to put our families back to work, but we want their kids to go to our schools. And we want them to not have to wait in gargantuan traffic problems to get to A, B, or C. I want your project to be successful. So I'm asking you tonight for a simple, short continuance so that we have the opportunity to talk these things out. I'd hope that would be amenable.
Councilman, I want to put one thing in perspective, if you will allow me. The first residential product, the first unit for sale, if we started today and gave Maxine's group our first precise plan submittal with a full design of a building to build, and the site was ready and the road was in, from that point in time, 3 years later, we'll deliver that first unit. What my point being, to resolve this school issue or hold us to resolving it to 1 month or to 3 months or to condition this approval on the resolution of that school location or what it looks like or how many seats it has is not conducive to the development of this site, and the fact that we know we've got 3 years at the earliest before we deliver the first residential unit. Now, if you want to couch that resolution, that school resolution for 3 years, I'll be glad to agree with that. We don't have to resolve the school issue for 3 years when we deliver the first unit. And I'll guarantee you, just as I stand before you now, that when I deliver that first for sale unit, I'm going to be able to tell those people that they're going to a school that they can walk to, that is within their community. I can guarantee you that. I cannot guarantee you I could go back to the people I represent and tell them continue paying that interest on that money. Don't worry about putting those City of North Miami residents to work because the council would rather resolve a school issue that's not going to be imminent for 3 more years. And furthermore, to control the property that goes out through the wetlands that is owned by a combination of the state and this city and ask us to hold some resolution of what that road is going to look like out through that property we don't control, when in fact by our lease, it's a requirement of FIU to permit that road. Once they permit it, we'll build it. I don't really think you're doing the right thing, sir. And you know, if you want to continue to do that, please do. But I don't think it's the right thing to do.
You guys have switched my vote this evening. I will not be supporting you.
Okay.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wish that we were discussing this important item at 7 o'clock, not 11:30 at night. So I'm not sure where do we want to go from there at 11:30. When I read this item, I thought it was a conceptual a plan that we just sort of support or vote down what's need to be on that site, which was part of the list. I thought it was clear, but tonight apparently it's totally something different that I'm listening. I'm not sure where we're going from there. It seemed like staff actually recommended as is with the couple of amendments. I'm hearing about the schools, which will be built within 3 years.
Well, I mean, you guys could count. You see, you don't have the vote. I mean, what do you guys want to do? You want us to take a vote on it? I mean, it looks like, you know, you guys don't have the vote. You guys want to continue it? Okay, one more month and come back here. I mean, you guys know how to count. You guys are politicians. You guys been around here for years. So,
if I
go ahead. The politicians, you guys want to continue it for 1 month?
Let's leave 1 month.
Sure, go ahead.
we can give 5-minute recess. 5-minute recess.
Talk it over in the bathroom.
All right, Mr. Mayor and Council, I've been overruled by Council.
All right. So it's going to be continued for 1 more month and come back here and trying to solve some of these issues that need to be resolved, right? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, and
I'll
I'd like
second the motion officially for continuance.
I would like the issues at least identified, what issues you expect to be resolved
That
1
would be
month
my
from
council
today
member.
or whenever that council meeting is.
Well,
Is that
it looks
fair?
like you got 2 votes on this side that want the condo, you know, to be removed because it's too close to
Too close to the bad shopping center.
the lake to be filled, and a pathway to FIU. I think those are the 3 issues that were coming on that side. And there's 1 issue on this side. So it looks to me that you could satisfy that requirement by, I mean, you could get
That's a school requirement, too.
right.
Move the
Yeah.
condos. I'm
But
sorry, I'm just getting a little batty
question
here right now.
talking about that. Is it the conceptual plan? Everything that you said at the places has to be there. Can council, after we voted on it tonight, can council decide in a later term that this is not where I suggested that the school goes, or this is not where I want the auto mall are? Can we actually do that by law?
Yes.
Or if we pass it tonight, that's where it's supposed to be?
The answer is
Indefinitely.
yes, you can do it.
Okay, so what are we waiting for again? Why we have to
You
wait
don't-
for a month?
There's not.
If we can,
I don't know. I mean,
I'd just like to see
Asking
more.
questions.
I'd like to see more clarification from the school board, perhaps one of their representatives in the room, attesting to what their plan is. You know, I'd like to see some discussion with Durham actually take place. I mean, if it's FIU that's supposed to do it, y'all call FIU and ask them to get off the schneid. Let's get some of this ambiguity cleared up so that we can all feel confident that what we're voting yes on is exactly what we're voting yes on, and it's not going to change mid-course with us. That's all I ask in a short continuance of a month.
would they still be going
gonna be
out
more
there
than
and
a
do the
month.
same thing? I mean, even pass. I just want to know exactly why I'm not passing and why I'm passing. even though if we pass the conceptual plan tonight, would they still have to go and sit down with FIU? Because from what I understand, from what I read, FIU has to take the permit in order for them to build the road.
Right. For instance, with the road, the area that they've set aside in the plan that they gave us is a 2-lane at-grade road, meaning a 2-lane road through the mangroves. In reality, I don't think Durham will ever permit that to FIU or anybody else. It's going to need to be a flyover, which will mean it needs to start earlier and end later.
So it wouldn't
there
make any
needs-
difference
there
because
needs-
they're not going to permit it anyway.
But if we build more site plan into this map that shows a flyover scenario, I mean, right now where the flyover would have to be, you're showing as residential units. So is it going to be residential units or would it be a flyover? I'm not sure. Same thing with the school. Right now the site plan is silent to any type of school. I know you've had some discussions that began 4 business days ago, but let's walk those down the path a little bit more so that we can get some sort of assurance, A, where the school will be, and that B, they're not going to do something tricky like call it a charter school where kids from across the county can come and attend and not necessarily kids that live in the neighborhood. Because we can build a school at FIU or at Biscayne Landing and then open it to kids from Key Biscayne, and that doesn't solve our problems any. I just don't want us to be stuck with those issues down the line on behalf of our families.
Yes.
Again, we'll take the 30 days, but to get the school board to commit in writing as to never screwing you or never changing their position, they're going to say, we're very, very happy if we can get a school on the site. And that's what they're going to tell you.
We've got some powerful people in this room. Let's hope that we can exert some influence.
Okay.
I'd call the question,
So
Mr. Mayor.
we'll be back on May 28th for this item will be continued to May 28th council meeting.
Yeah, Mayor, we have a motion. We don't have a second. Are you guys going to vote on it?
I made the second.
Okay, I
Anyone
got a
wishes
motion
to
and a
work-
second.
Anyone wishes to work on a no? Hearing none, item passed. Mr. Clerk, you have a question for Mr. Schulman?
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore? Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right, call me, Michael, if you do.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Schulman.
Tab G.
Resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, approving submittal of an application to Miami-Dade County to annex into the city an area bordered on the west side by Northwest 16th Avenue, on the east side by Northwest 13th Avenue, on the south side by Northwest 131st Street, and on the north side by Northwest 135th Street, identified as the Sunkist Grove Annexation Area, otherwise known as Area 2, providing for an effective date and all other purposes.
Move approval.
Okay, has been moved, have been seconded. Anyone?
Who seconded, Mayor? You did?
Vice Mayor seconded.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Anyone wishes to be heard on this item? Okay, please come forward. Okay. To you, yes, yes. Yes.
Good morning or good evening, I don't know. I'm so tired. I'm here because we do not understand in our little postage stamp place that you want to annex why you are doing this. And my neighbors have tried to get me to come out before, and I just don't understand. And I hope all of you have really thought about this, because you may not be, it's just a little nothing thing. But it isn't just a little nothing thing to us. Those homes were built in 1954. It's been a nice little neighborhood. And all of a sudden, and we don't really, when I first moved there in 1961, it was North Miami policemen, but everything else we had to pay for that we did with the city. Then the county, because it is county, then they came, their policemen came. So the only thing left now that you do for us is the delicious water. That's wonderful. And you've doubled our price on that already. We don't need to be annexed to you, to spend so much more money for something that's already fine. And I don't understand your motive for just taking our little area. And it's not necessary. It may be necessary in your pocketbook, but it's not necessary in ours. And I would like you to rethink it and at least ask a couple questions of some people, because maybe it hasn't been a big issue. And maybe you need to be more educated in what you're doing to us. There's 160 homes, and I could take off the top of my head 20 people I already know that are my neighbors don't want this. Nobody's ever asked me to sign a petition. We've had people coming to our neighbors' doors, knocking on the doors and telling them this has already been decided. It hasn't been decided. We do not want this. We want you to really think about it. And I don't know, I read in the paper a while back how Dade County was going to ask cities to take little pieces of property away from them and annex them so they could cut down on their expenses. Take somebody else. You need to leave us alone. There's nothing wrong with where we are. And I'm sorry, but we don't need you, not because we don't think you're capable of helping us, but because Metro just does fine for us. We have police protection, we have the fire, we have everything we need. The waste department is fine, all of that. And your water, we do need your water.
Thank you.
I'll pay even more money for you if I have to. But would you please think about what you're doing? I would ask you tonight to please, we're not waiting a month for you to decide. I would like you to just forget about annexing us. That's what I would ask you tonight.
Thank you.
I'm begging you.
Thank you.
I feel
Please,
wanted.
I'm begging you. I know we all want to go home. But please. And, do I have to tell my name and my address? No?
You're fine. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
All right,
thank you. Please consider it. Don't just smile and say, gee, that was nice.
Sure.
Okay?
Constance Carter, 1510 Northwest 132nd Street, Miami, Florida. Unfortunately, it's been a long day for us. We did have a lot of members of our area that were here, but unfortunately, a lot of them had to go to work, and some of them had to go pick up their children, and they just said they had to leave. So we're the lone two that are left to defend our area. Now, what we're saying is that if it's not broken, why try to fix it? Second, we have had a number of meetings. We have had about 4 or 5 meetings with some of the staff from the city of North Miami, including the mayor. And we have said time and time again, we're happy with what we have. So we've, thought it was all right until we got the notice saying that you all were submitting a proposal to Dade County. However, we have said that we're satisfied with what we have. And we have talked about our taxes, and we said that we know that the taxes probably may go up, but we're happy with how most of us are retired and we're living on fixed incomes and we have our budgets already allocated. Then another thing is that, we have a septic tank, and we said we were satisfied with that. We've already worked on that, most of us in our area. Also, we were just saying that we heard that a lot of people went around in the neighborhood, and a lot of the people that did go around probably had some of the renters to sign the forms. However, really you need to have the homeowners to sign the form, and that's another thing that we were concerned about also. So we want you to really just let us stay just as we are, because most of us are happy and most of us have been there a long time. As my neighbor stated, she's been there about over 50 years, and I know where I live, and my neighbors, we've all been there for well over 36 to 40 years. So I would like for you to consider that, please. Thank you.
Anyone else wishes to be heard on tab G? Public hearing is now closed on tab G. Councilman Blend?
I find it okay.
Councilman Marcellus?
No comment.
Councilman Garvin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, to address Ms. Carter's question about renters signing versus property owners. When, I don't know who went around, did our city staff go around and collect signatures, and did they collect them from residents versus, owners versus tenants, or does it matter?
To the mayor, councilman, we were required by the county to only contact registered voters, and we had the locations and the names of those registered voters. We were not permitted to contact anyone else, but get the signatures of a required number of registered voters who actually live in that area. That's who we contacted, that's what we obtained, and we did not deal with renters or anyone living in the house who was not a registered voter at that house.
So the county standard is simply that it be a registered voter at said address. It doesn't matter if they're a owner versus a tenant.
No, they must be the owner and they must be a registered voter at that location.
Okay, thank. And to the first woman who spoke, I can certainly say, though it won't make you happy, good news is that North Miami residents pay less for water than people outside the city, because we add on a surcharge for people who are outside of the city. So for what it's worth, if this passes this evening, water bills would actually go down a little bit. All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, better police service.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My other questions to piggyback from Scott. What did we do with those signatures? Did we turn them to the county, or we keep them in our archives?
Through the mayor, vice mayor, it was a part of the county packet that we submitted to them. They gave us the names. We submitted the packet back with the signature of those names from the voters that they presented to us.
And how many signatures that we were supposed to return to the county?
It required a minimum amount of, I think it was 25% plus one, and that's what we got.
Okay. Okay, the motion was made and seconded. Anyone wishes to record or no? Hearing none, item passed. Tab H.
Proposed resolution appointing Danny P. Felton, Sr. to the Board of Commissioners of the City of North Miami Housing Authority.
Okay, I guess item H, I, J, K, and L, they're all the same. Anyone wishes to be heard on all three of them, all five of them?
Mr. Mayor, just a question for staff. What is the Housing Authority? I don't recall it.
Just 1 second, we'll get there.
Sure.
Okay.
Carol Keys, 12550 Palm Road. Yeah, I have a lot of questions about this. You've got a dormant housing authority. You really don't state what it is comprised of, what the requirements are. I'd like to know if any of the residents of North Miami were made aware of the fact that you were reinstituting this board and giving them an opportunity to serve. You've got, I guess, 4 applicants. 2 of them do not appear to live in the city. One might have an office in the city. A couple of them don't necessarily have qualifications for sitting on a board. And I also don't understand how 3 of you up there may not be back serving as mayor and council, unless there's a runoff, and then maybe you'll have 1 more term. How is it that this board, on your last evening, is going to appoint 4 members to a board, 1 which is going to be there for 4 years, 1 for 3 years, 1 for 2 years? I just don't get the timing of this. What is the urgency to start a board this last evening? And who picked these people? And if we do have such a board, how many people are required? And why didn't the council members each get to pick their own person? This makes no sense to me. There's something wrong.
Anyone else wishes to be heard on top? H, I, J, K, L. Hearing none. Public hearing is now closed. Councilman Galvin?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff, what is this housing authority? Why is this before us this evening? And historically, what's the scoop?
Through the mayor, councilman, the North Miami Housing Authority had already been established and passed, but it had remained dormant. There were no board members assigned to this. That's where it stopped. It probably stopped because at that particular time, there may not have been funding available. So at that point in time, it just kind of got dropped by then staff. It's advantageous for the city to move forward with this now because of the funding opportunities that can exist so that our residents can have an opportunity to get housing. Also, when we look at our foreclosed property, the city attorney and I did speak with the banks, in particular Bank of America, who would give the city houses to a nonprofit. At that point in time, those houses could be given, they have a program where they will give houses to first responders, and those first responders could have the house for free, being our police officers. But we needed a nonprofit. So being that there were a number of opportunities available, the funding source, this is a nonprofit, the banks in their programs that they have through government mandates will give these homes to a nonprofit, thereby which this is how this opportunity came up. We felt that it was the right opportunity to present it so that we can take advantage of government federal funding, and the banks giving this to this nonprofit so we can move forward with additional programs.
Most of the people you're nominating this evening don't live in the city of North Miami. Is there a condition that sets the guideline for residency versus business versus qualification? I mean, this is all very new to me.
Sure, through the mayor. Again, when this was initiated, there is no resolution. There is nothing in our city records that indicate that anybody was appointed to the Housing Authority. So therefore, we are going by Florida State Statute 421 that says when the governing body of a city adopts a resolution as aforesaid, it says, this is for public housing, the mayor, with the approval of the governing body, shall promptly appoint no fewer than 5 persons and no more than 7 persons as commissioners of the authority created for such city. The individuals that you have there are individuals that, contrary, where their resumes are attached, and they would be excellent board members for a program such as this.
So the mayor,
three of us does live in the city of North Miami.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Oh, can you clarify for me? I'm looking through the information. I don't see.
You have Kenny each live in the city of North Miami. You have Attorney Dela Magloire live in the city of North Miami, and you have Gloria Romero Roses who lives in Keystone. Does she live? She doesn't live in Keystone anymore.
No.
Okay, so
two.
Okay.
No, I'm not questioning any of them. I just, it's so new, and there's no background here to explain what you've just told us. So I'm cool to approve the mayor's suggestions. I just was trying to understand where it was all coming from.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to propose a resolution that all these members of this board live in North Miami, and I'd appreciate a second on that.
Well, I'd be willing to address that after the fact, Mr. Blinn. I've spoken with the manager before about the federal government's ability to award foreclosed properties to the city and allow first responders, i.e. cops and fire people, to move into them. So if we can take some of these vacant houses and put badges in them, I'm cool with that. And then maybe we revisit the parameters of the board's membership in the future. Size of the board, where they live, et cetera, at a future point. But I'm good to, this is me, I'm good to get it going just so we can get badges in the houses.
And there's still 2 more, I guess, members to be added to the board
It can be up to 7.
Once the initial board has been set. Councilman Marsalis?
Mr. Manager, how you pick these people?
Through the mayor, Councilman Marcellus, we kind of looked at some of these individuals, like Kenny Each is a long-term resident here in the city. So was I think another board member. We approached them, their interest in the city, their interest in the future of the city. That's how those came about. I had presented Danny Felton because Danny Felton, number one, is an ex-police officer. Danny Felton has a mortgage company. Danny Felton is very active in Miami-Dade County as an individual that is very familiar with housing and getting people and programs where people can acquire a home. So I thought that his experience would be very beneficial to us. He does own a home in the city, although he does not live in it, but just his experience dealing with housing and getting people into the housing and the spirit of getting people an opportunity to have housing who would not otherwise have that opportunity, we thought that he would be a good recommendation to bring to the board.
And CJ?
Likewise, Mr. Jacobs is the same situation, a person that is very familiar with housing, the spirit of wanting to give people an opportunity to get there. So it wasn't based upon a resident as much as a person that has the experience of dealing with housing, culminated with the fact that they want to see individuals who would not otherwise have an opportunity get an opportunity to get into housing.
How about Mrs. Magloire?
I did not make that recommendation. That was done by staff, I believe. Yeah, we made recommendations to the mayor, but those were the reasons why I gave those three individuals. The other one was a recommendation.
Danielle McGraw has been living in the city for a very long time. She's an attorney, and I think she's been busy.
I know Dana.
Okay, she's been busy having kids, and now she's ready to get back to work.
No, my question is not for Dana. I'm just wants to know, how did you pick them? That's it, because I know most of the people.
Well, the mayor's making the recommendations, but basically we brought some suggestions to him, and the three that we mentioned was based upon that. But the statute says that the recommendation is by the mayor. But we, staff, presented some suggestions to him that we felt that would be beneficial in getting this board off the ground.
Okay.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move those resolution GHIJ. Which one? Is it?
K and L.
And L.
I'll second him.
Has been seconded. Anyone wishes to work on a no? Hearing none. All items passed. Congratulations to Denny Felton, Gloria Romero Roses, Attorney Dana McGraw, Chief of Police Kenneth Each, and Camille Jacob for being appointed to the North Miami Housing Authority. Tab M.
An ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 15 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Pensions and Retirement by amending Article 3 entitled Clarity Singleman Employees Retirement System, Division 1 entitled Generally at Section 15-61 entitled Definitions to allow employees to purchase credited service in the plan based upon the employee's prior governmental service and upon meeting certain conditions, providing for conflicts, severability, codification, and an effective date.
Public hearing is open on tab M. Public hearing has now closed on tab M. Councilman Glenn. Councilman Marcellus.
No questions.
Councilman Gavin.
No questions.
Vice Mayor.
No.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. City Clerk, roll call.
Yes.
Councilman Marcellus.
Yes.
Councilman Blen.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Steril.
Yes.
Councilman Galvin.
Yes.
Mayor Pierre.
Yes.
Measure passes 5-0.
Tab N.
Discussion and approval for an additional $50,000 for removal and replacement of approximately 2,000 LF of sidewalk repairs.
Okay. LF stands for linear feet.
Okay. I'm not an engineer.
You're not an engineer? Okay. Public hearing is open on tab N. Public hearing is now closed on tab N. Mr. Gani would give us a little bit of feedback of what this is and the area that it covers.
Alim Ghani, Public Works Director. The area is bounded approximately 119th Street to the south, 135th Street to the north, Northwest 2nd Avenue to the east, and I-95 to the west. I believe in your package you should see some photos taken for some of the conditions of the sidewalk within that area. And from the photos you can see there's a lot of liability that falls on the city. I do have a list that I did not include in the package of all the slip and fall and all the risk management claims that the city presently has. And quite a few of them are within this area as well. So I believe it's money, that is going to be well spent if allocated. It's an area that really needs the sidewalk and the ramps, the ADA ramps, because the areas that we provide, we're going to start actually at first with going to be areas around where there are schools, and to commence the project if the money is approved.
Okay, Councilman Bland.
How did you pick this area?
Based on complaints from the residents, I had two meetings with areas in the with residents in the area and complaints that we have.
Is this one of the worst sidewalks situations
Along Northeast
in the city?
Fifth Avenue
And
is
that's
one
why
of
you're
the
addressing it?
Along Northeast Fifth Avenue is one of the worst set of sidewalks we do.
Because I have plenty of bad sidewalks in my district.
And we are replacing them, Councilman. We are replacing them.
Remember, you got
presently.
$50,000 to do that?
We all have 50,000 apiece?
You all have 50,000.
All right.
Just asking for additional 50.
Very good. I can repair some sidewalks. Thank you.
We passed the last time
Yeah, but I know, but it
$50,000.
was-
Okay.
oh, whatever.
Councilman Marcellus, you have any issues with that?
No.
No. Councilman Gavin?
No issues. My only question is where the money is coming from. Is it in the budget already, or is it Biscayne Landing money? Where's the money going to come from?
Through the mayor, councilman, it would be a part of the Biscayne Landing funds.
So is this the 3-point-something million that we put in reserve, and now we're going to take out of that? Or
This is a part, this will come from the money that has already been set aside. We have already allocated funds for through Biscayne Landing. We came back twice. Well, this is the second time. A few weeks ago, Councilman Bland wanted additional funding. And, I'm sorry? Yeah. We came back for additional funding, and now this issue is also separate. What we did when Councilman Bland asked for 50,000, we looked at the total funds that you originally allocated, and we knew that we had money for sidewalks. So staff had then indicated that because Councilman Bland had gotten 50, we would look into what you had already allocated and spread that out and give each district 50, which is already a part of that Biscayne Landing, except for the 50 that Councilman Bland asked for. So that's why we had 200,000 across the city. So what staff is doing is spending 50,000 in each district. What this request is now is an additional 50,000 that would come from the 3.4 million that we had set aside, that we had not taken any money from. So now we have the 50 that Councilman Bland asked for, and this 50, that would take us roughly down to about 3.2, 3.3 left over. And what staff is showing that this is a strong area of need. I rode through that area today. It's well needed. This is just a more challenging area than any other place in the city. It's very, very challenging, but this is why we're asking for this additional 50.
So I just want to be clear. We allocated back a few weeks ago $1 million for various projects.
Absolutely.
North Bayshore Park improvement, the Executive
Absolutely.
Manors Wall, Sans Souci Alleyway,
Swell.
etc.
Mhm.
That money is still going to cover all of those things that we said? And there was
Absolutely.
left over $200,000 that you're now giving us 50, 50, 50, 50?
No. What you had left over was $1 million for
Right.
all of those items.
Right.
North Bayshore Park, the 2 walls.
Right.
And a number of other items, like
Right.
the Pony Park. And encompassed was about $150,000 for sidewalks.
Okay.
That was across the city, across the board. Councilman Bland, after that, came to the next council meeting and asked for $50,000 for sidewalks that we took from the 3.4 that's left over. He asked for $50,000 for a project in his district.
Right. So that 50,000 came out of the reserve.
Absolutely. So now that made what staff looked at. We looked at the 150 that we estimated that we would have,
Mm-hmm.
and then additional 50 that made 200. What we decided to do was to equally distribute that across the city at 50,000 in each district. Am I clear on that so
Sure,
far?
sure. And I'm looking at it here on the city's
Okay.
Progress 13
Right.
website.
Now, what is happening, there needs to be an additional 50,000 that's not a part of that million, but we need to add it to it because this area is very challenged with sidewalks. The black olive trees, some years ago, the city decided to plant those. They're pulling up the sidewalks, they're ripping up the sidewalks. And one of the pictures you see where we use black asphalt as a Band-Aid, just so that the city, we won't have a situation where somebody walks and stumbles. But we feel that this additional 50,000 will really resolve a lot of issues in the area that Mr. Ghani just described, that he named.
Now, you never told me that was coming out of the reserve. I thought it was coming out of the million.
No, Councilman Bland, I made it very clear that night that when it was passed, that it would be coming out of the Biscayne.
You did not make that clear to me. There was, we had an extra million, we were utilizing it.
Anyways.
We didn't use all of it.
No more questions.
You never made that clear to me.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am making a motion that we freeze the remainder of the
It's about 3.2.
$3.2 million until that council come to an agreement how we want to spend it, or either save it or spend it. Can I get a motion for that?
Well, I'll certainly second that motion
We
if
need
it takes
to we need
precedent.
to we need to stop that madness though.
Okay. So can we vote on that tab N first, then we could vote, then we vote on your motion,
Sure.
Okay. Tab N,
You want me to move it, or
yeah.
you already moved it?
No, I don't think it has been moved yet. Okay. Tab N has been moved for approval.
Second
Anyone wishes to record a no?
One respectful no.
Okay, one no.
That'd be 2 no's.
Okay. Then the second thing is a motion not to touch the $3.2 million that we have set aside.
I'll second that.
Okay. Anyone wishes to record a no? Hearing none. Citizen forum is
Mayor,
now-
for the record, you moved tab in, okay? You moved it, and Councilwoman Staley seconded it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Citizen forum is now open.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and those of us who are still awake. Michelle Garcia, 1251 Northeast 141st Street. It's been a while since I've been in City Hall, and I certainly wasn't expected to see a circus, and I saw a circus. And I wasn't expecting to see someone with a Napoleonic complex, and I saw someone with a Napoleonic complex. The First Amendment guarantees me my right to speak, and you tried to stop it, and I sat here until 12 o'clock to say my beef. And I am going to say my beef because growing up in a multicultural household with a black father, I lived with racism like you cannot imagine. And now I'm seeing the same thing happen to very dear friends of mine just because of who they are. And it needs to stop. Knowing that my city is allowing its services and its money to be funding a person who preaches hatred is heinous and it's morally wrong and it's repugnant. And I had to stand here and sit there till 12:10 to tell you, Mr. Mayor, that you're wrong. And the fact that you are preaching hatred and supporting someone who preaches hatred makes you just as bad as the white man who was racist against the black man in the 50s and 60s. And you should be ashamed of yourself. And allowing that to continue is disgusting. And I am counting the days till you will no longer be sitting on the dais. And I'm also counting the days to knowing that you just put a major coffin in your political career because every single homosexual person and every single person who supports equal rights for everybody will now be standing firmly against you.
Citizen forum still open?
Mike McDermott, 840 Northeast 127th Street. Want to wish you well in the future. To give you a little more background on the Housing Authority, I worked very, very closely with former Mayor Joe Celestine. There's never been a lack of funding for a housing authority. As a matter of fact, back when Mayor Celestine and I first began to try to put together the housing authority, the main reason we did at that point was there was money available for the elderly. To build facilities for the elderly. And that's why one of the main reasons we were pursuing that. I've been involved with the Housing Authority from day one or before day one, through its formation, through several years and several city attorneys in which we tried to get it going. And it wasn't because of lack of funding. It was because of the fact of some political situations that existed at the time. I had no idea. I'm in the title insurance business, work for one of the largest law firms in Florida, and we do foreclosures and housing every single day. I had no idea the committee was being put together, and certainly if I had known, I would have sent my application in because it's been something I've been involved with for the past, 10 years now. So anyway, I just wanted to fill you in a little bit more. It never came to fruition or had its first meeting, not because of lack of funding, because there's always been funding available. It's just the timing. Okay. So thank you very much, and if that's my application, then that's my application.
You still want one more board?
Pardon? So anyway, thank you, Mayor, and
thank you.
Good luck.
I'd like to make a motion
thank
to
you so
appoint
much.
us to the board.
Thank you so much, Michael. 1 second. Okay. Anyone else wishes to be heard on Citizen Forum?
Sure.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, audience, and audience at home watching on Channel 77. My name is Joe Haber, and I'm your neighbor. 2096 Alamanda Drive, Keystone Point. I am a candidate for District 2 councilman in the upcoming election. With respect to last meeting's vote to allow Pastor Jack a public forum and pay with public funds, I must say that I am all for the city supporting public forums and for supporting these type of events. I think it's an important part of our morals and our ethics, and that we need to do this. But Pastor Jack is not without his reputation for radical beliefs, and that should have been taken into consideration. And maybe we could have found a more beneficial or harmonious pastor or rabbi that could have provided this service to the city and to the citizens. Anyway, it's too late, so The only thing I would say is that what is not up for argument is that racial and religious bigotry is absolutely wrong. And I stand with my district and my neighbors against anyone who seeks to divide us. And I think that that's what's most important, and I appreciate that you all would join me in those morals and those ethics moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. Very quickly, want to thank all of you for spending so much time and effort this evening and listening to these various issues in great detail. And I just wanted to say that no one can be critical of you if your decision today to postpone Biscayne Landing was in the best interest of the city. It's so we can get a better product, and I applaud all of you for doing that, for recognizing and not pushing this through, that I think we will get a better product with a little bit more time, and it's very much appreciated. So thank you for your action.
Thank you, Mr. Prevotel.
Mr. Mayor, Council, good morning, actually. It's no longer good evening. My name is McKinley Lauriston. I'm the Administrative Director for Miami-Dade County Commissioner Jean Team, 900 Northeast 125th Street. Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Monistim could not be here with us tonight.
He's sleeping.
Actually, he's out of town. I am here on his behalf to present his farewell wishes to you and to convey his thanks for your service and your dedication to the city of North Miami and its residents. It's been said that it takes a minute to say hello, but it takes forever to say farewell. But it would take forever, pretty much, to talk about all your accomplishments tonight. So I'm just going to say farewell. Thank you. God bless you. And we wish you best of luck in all your new endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And make sure you tell the Commissioner I truly appreciate those kind words. Thank you.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Richard Champagne.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're right. I could have been building some clients right now. But 141 Northeast 122nd Street, I'm just here, Mayor, to thank you for your many years of service to this great city. I'm sure that it was not an easy task having to attend weekly council meetings and certainly having to make certain tough decisions. But at the end of the day, I believe that history will judge you as being one of the best mayors to have served the city. On numerous occasions, you have shown that you have put in the city's best interests first. Today's vote was evident. And also, I think that as a former president of the Haitian Lawyer Association, I've witnessed on numerous occasions how yourself, along with the council, have gone out of your ways to help this great city. Whether it's by the numerous foreclosure work that you've done, immigration clinics, making sure that you bring businesses to the community. So I just want to make sure that I came here to pay you my farewell. Certainly to also thank your wonderful wife for being as supportive, because I'm sure it's not always an easy thing to marry a politician or someone who's serving in your capacity. I know that being a public figure is not always an easy thing, but at the end of the day, I think that it's worth it, especially when you're helping out the community. So I just want to make sure that I came here to pay my gratitude and thank you for serving this community well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Champagne. As a friend, as a colleague, I truly appreciate that. We have known each other for a very long time, and it looks like you have grown to be a big man. Thank you.
Good evening, Frank Woland, 12865 West Dixie Highway. About 4 years ago, after a heated election, I sat down with you, Mayor Pierre, and you spent a couple of hours with me, and I thought I could give you, show you a couple of things and give you some of my thoughts. And to your credit, you took your time and you were impressed and you listened, and I think you've done a very fine job. And I would drive by City Hall, and drive on 7 o'clock in the morning. He's there here at City Hall, and go by his office. He's not at his office.
That's
Call
a
up-
problem.
Call him up. Where are you? Mayor Pierre, he says, I'm doing the people's business. And I think all of you have heard him say that many, many times, and indeed, you have been doing the people's business. So you've done a fine job. You've assembled a really good management team that has, together, you and the council, I think, have really done an excellent job of looking after the interest of the taxpayers and citizens of our city. So I wanted to recognize you and say thank you on behalf of myself and all the other hardworking residents, and we wish you the best.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I mean, coming from one mayor to the next, I mean, you know what comes with the job. So, I mean, this is the kind of things that you definitely want to hear, especially when someone who's been sitting on that chair.
Now you can go back to work and be a lawyer again.
Hey, there you go. I was just in trial a couple of weeks ago. I spent 10 days in trial in a federal case, a federal identity theft case. So I'm ready. But the only problem is I felt like, some of my skills, need to get back to what it was 4 years ago, because I used to win all the time 4 years ago, and now, I'm trying a case and I end up losing, and I don't like that.
Yeah, but
So-
that's the odds.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
My name is Daniel Fizeme. I'm the chairman of the Haitian American Historical Society and also the chairman of the Haitian Historical Museum and Archives in North Miami. We had submitted an application to the mayor.
Yeah, I think all of us have this in front of us. This is from the Haitian American Historical Society. That you are requesting funding for the grand opening of the museum.
Yeah.
Although you sent it over to me, I see that some council members had a copy of it. So
Can you have the floor to tell me what you do?
okay. How much money are you requesting from the city, sir?
Good evening. My name is Alexandra Barbo. I'm the Executive Director of the Haitian Historical Museum and Archive. Honorable Mayor and Council members, we are requesting for the grand opening of the museum and the programming of the museum a sum of $50,000. We have been in North Miami for over 2 years. We have been renovating a building that used to belong to State Representative Yoli Robertson. We are a 501c3, well known for the Haitian Memorial Monument in Savannah, Georgia. It was erected with funds raised by the Haitian community and benefited the city with an incredible increase in the geographical area around the monument. We have seen statistically an economic development of the buildings and the tourist area, the hotels around the monument, and we expect to have the same impact with our museum, as well as we have a well thought of line of programmings, and we have a fabulous exhibition that we're planning for the end of the month of May, and it is detailed in the proposal that we have given to each members of the council.
Okay.
Now I'm back again to say thanks to the mayor for what you have done for us before. And you went to Savannah with us twice, and the door is still open. And whoever comes in, I'd like them to follow your footsteps for what you've been doing. And we have a lot of people. The city of North Miami Beach was here. This council, so they had to leave because it was too late for them to stay. And we have some other supporters from other cities, other part of this country, this city, other part of this county to support us. I'd like them to say a few words before anything.
Yes, we have Mrs. Lillian French.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, all the councilmen. So I am a great supporter of the Haitian American Historical Society, which is has its base, in the North Miami area. So this has been motivated a lot of Haitian, and it's there to guide us about how to be aware or educated about how history, culture, and we have been going to many trips to Savannah where a lot of Haitian people or not a group, ethnical group has been able to identify, you know, what is the Haitian and their contribution in the world, you know, whatever we, how we help, you know, every other country in the world. So I am here to support them. I hope you will understand the need for us, you know, to obtain this funding in order to have the museum and to help the Haitian in the community.
We also have the former Chamber President of North Miami Beach, Mrs. Diane Blank.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and council people. I'm honored to be here. A few short years ago, I had the opportunity to meet with Daniel Philomé and Alexandria Barbeau, and they shared with me a vision for a multicultural museum to come to the North Miami Beach area. And I feel that this is a time that's come for this community to have such a museum. I also feel that it would create an economic development arena for the area, as well as the cultural aspect. And we really look forward in the very near future for their inspection to move forward, and for the Honorable Mayor to have a ribbon cutting, and for us to be very proud of their accomplishments. I feel that they are very honorable people and of great character, and people that certainly have involved themselves within the community. So it's my pleasure and honor to know them and to wish them the best of luck and to see their venture and dream move forward. I thank you for your time.
We also had greetings from the council member from North Miami Beach, Mrs. Phyllis Smith. She was here, but she had to go, and several other members, Madame Marlène Bastien, Mrs. Marie Roodson from Haïtien. Thank you, and I wish you all the best, Mayor André Pierre, in all your future endeavor. We thank you for your great support, although you said we've never asked you for anything, but you've always been very supportive and traveled many times to Savannah. And I want to thank all of you for your great support of the society and our efforts in our building for the last 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. How come you guys are not saying farewell to Councilman Glenn?
No, we don't want to get to that yet.
You're definitely gone.
I live in the city, my friend.
So do I. More than you.
Councilman Blaine, I think the museum is in either your district or Councilman Marcellus' district. So anything you want to say about the museum?
I think it's an excellent museum. I think they deserve money. It has to go on the agenda. If I'm re-elected, I will seriously consider it. We give $500,000 to our MOCA. I don't see why we cannot give money to a second museum.
Okay. So I guess Councilman Blaine probably wants it to be on the agenda, and he's going to make a motion to give you $50,000. Is that what you want at the May 28th?
If I'm here.
Right.
But I'm not making any motions until May 28th.
Right, May 28th.
That's premature.
If he's here, he's going to make a motion to give the museum $50,000. Do you want to hear? You want to vote tonight?
Stop
or you
putting words in my mouth, Mr. Mayor.
We
don't
are
let
about
the
to
public
open.
speak, then you let me speak through you. You are really a contradiction.
Okay. So what are you saying?
We'll see what happens on May 28th.
We're going to open very soon. We need the money for exhibition. We have a lot of things. We open on May 28th. So we need the money now so we can do what we accomplish what we have to do.
So are you
not after 28?
Okay. Are you willing to make the motion now, Councilman Blaine?
You don't make motions for future meetings. On May 28th, we'll take up this item. It'll be on the agenda.
I know, but he's requesting $50,000 now. Are you willing to make the motion to give
No,
$50,000?
we don't make motions without something on the agenda first.
Okay.
You know the way we work.
Okay.
That is against all our methods of operation.
Okay. So because it's not on the agenda, you're not going to make the motion to give him $50,000.
It has to be on the agenda. We know that. Stop making contradictions. The truth is that it has to be on the May 28th meeting, and you know that. You're acting foolish.
Okay. Councilman Marcellus?
Yeah.
I think the cause is a great cause, but just by saying this thing right now at the end of the meeting, that is very puzzle me. And really, I think that's something we're supposed to put on the agenda. I wonder why Mr. Daniel then go to see the manager and to put this thing on the agenda before us. And, you know, at the last minute, when the meeting is over, that's when we find out there's a request for funding for $50,000. Really, I think the cause is excellent but, you know, by principle, it's really difficult for me right now to make any motion for this money.
Mr. Fizeme, it looks like, you know, you got 2 votes so far. If you put it on May 28th, you know, you may have to delay the grand opening to May 28th. I mean, it's just, to after May 28th.
Why don't you ask Councilman Galvin? They'll be here.
Right.
I don't know. I might still be here because we haven't adjourned yet.
We gotta get there. So it looks like, you know, you don't have the vote. So would you want to be on the agenda on May 28th, and you could delay your grand opening?
I'd like to hear what.
Okay, Councilman Gavin, maybe he make a motion to.
No, I don't. You don't have to. If it's not going to fail, it's going to fail. Just forget.
I'm not sure. I mean, you know, Councilman Blinn said, let's hear from Councilman Gavin. Maybe he wants to make the motion. So Councilman Gavin?
The good councilwoman had just earlier in this evening asked that we freeze the Biscayne Landing money until we can sort of settle down. I'd stay with that.
Okay.
That we should just freeze for right now. Yours is a very worthy cause, but $50,000 is a lot of money. And I know we're daddy money bags these days, but it does run out at some point.
So May 28th, sir, you take that?
If it's your wish, so.
It's not my wish, I mean.
Okay. If it's the wish of the council, so that's okay.
Okay, so you may have to reschedule, you know, your grand opening till another date. Probably, you know, sometime in early June. Okay?
We have received other funding from the Department of Cultural Affairs, and we have to use it on the 3rd quarter. But I really thank the council for their great comprehension and their support of our cause. And hopefully, Councilman Glynn, you will vote for us on the 28th, and Councilman Galvin. Councilman Marcellus, you already have your vote. And Madame Steril, we hope to have yours as well.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sure, you're welcome. Public hearing is still open.
Hi, Sergio Silvestri from the Oaks. I'm sure you've seen a love of me today.
At least we make you happy today.
Yeah. So
you don't have to be
I
mad
just
at
wanted,
us.
yes, I'm very happy.
Good.
And I actually wanted to thank you and applaud you all. 5 years ago, in 2008, when I moved to Miami, I've never been involved in the civic process in anything like this. And having lived at the Oaks, I've gotten to meet all of you, talk to you, and I've seen this all progress. And I think for the first time since those 5 years, we've accomplished a lot, and it's because of your support. I just want to thank you all and applaud the city staff and the council for doing the right thing for the Oaks today.
Sure,
thank
no
you.
problem. What's the young lady that usually here with you?
Miss Londono can no longer come. She's got some problems with cancer. So she just wanted me to make sure to thank you as well on her behalf, and she'll be trying to come in sometime soon.
Sure, okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Council and Mayor. My name is Janice Antoine. I live at 12490 Northwest 4th Avenue. I was actually here earlier, left. I have a child. And I saw that the sidewalk motion was denied. I'm one of the ones that fall many of times.
It wasn't denied, it passed.
Okay.
Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being here tonight.
I could have sworn I ran over here, as you see. Because I am one of the victims that fall numerous times from the tree that they
It's already
planted.
passed. The manager's going to get that
Well,
done
can I
for
make
you.
sure my address is the first one that I come and see? Because I have no place to park, and these roots have completely taken over, and I can't do it anymore. It's like,
Okay.
it's a lot.
12490 Northwest 4th Avenue.
That's Janice Antoine, please, thank you.
Janice Antoine.
Just see this guy in the back. Darlene, you give him your address again. You'll
Yeah.
be the first
Thank
one
you.
to get it.
You all have
welcome.
a great
Sure.
endeavor.
Thanks,
All
Ms.
right.
Antoine.
Okay.
My name is Leslie Prudenci, area coordinator. Through the permission of the manager, I'm reading a statement from Mr. Carl Nicolo, Assistant Superintendent, Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Mr. Mayor, unfortunately, I can't make this meeting. He said this evening, but I have to change it to this morning. But I wanted you to know how grateful I am to have worked with you and your staff during your time in office. Your passion and drive to get the city of North Miami nationally recognized as one of the best in the nation was a great accomplishment. I commend you for your dedication to this community and wish you the best for the future.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Carl Nicolo, Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Leslie.
much. I'll definitely give Mr. Nicolo a call tomorrow to thank him for this wonderful letter. Appreciate that. And can I have it? It's mine, right? It's yours. Okay. Thank you so much. All right. All right.
Oh, I wish you good luck because that was really a pleasure. And I'm very proud to have you as a mayor, and everybody is very happy about your work and the nice staff that you have around you. So you did a wonderful job passing at Miami, North Miami. We are really proud to look and see all the new development who has been done. Or the city has been changed. So thank you, all of you, for the good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Citizen Forum is now closed. Just want to invite everyone tomorrow to North Miami Chamber of Commerce luncheon. It's on tomorrow at 12 p.m. They're having all of the candidates. I think there's 7 of them that are running for mayor. I guess it's lunch. Lunch is about $20 or $25. But the beauty of it, you get a chance to meet the candidates that are running for mayor. You get a chance to hear, the issues and what they are going to do for the city of North Miami. So you may want to contact the chamber early in the morning to make sure that you can reserve a seat. I think they usually pack at about 200 people, and I think it's very important for the resident of this great city to get a chance to hear what the next mayor has to offer. The grand opening of Whole Food in North Miami. You don't understand so many people that walked into whether that office or whether that federal court said, how did you guys get Whole Food to come down to North Miami? And I think, through your city manager, I think Maxine Calloway had a big role to play in that. Whole Food, they're having their grand opening on May 1st, which is next week, sometime on Wednesday, I think. At 9 a.m., they invite the entire community to come and be part of this grand opening. Sometimes we have to drive all the way up to Aventura through that traffic that you heard so much about in order for us to really have some good, Whole Food. So thank you, North Miami, for having Whole Foods here in the city of North Miami. Don't forget about the Fact Festival this Saturday, April 27th at North Miami Senior High School from 10 to 3. I think there will be bikes, computers, iPad, bunch of giveaways. The North Miami Senior High School, Alonzo and Tracy Morning Senior High School, and a bunch of other schools will be participating in North Miami Fact Festival. Usually it's a packed event. I hope it doesn't rain again. It seemed to me that every year when we have the Fact Festival, the rain happened to come around. So, Mr. Manager, can you talk with the men upstairs and tell them that, hold on to the rain for us, which is very important. My condolences to the family of Barry Sugarman, who passed away last week on Tuesday, April 16, 2013. We had his funeral here, I think, at Temple Beth Morsha. He's been here in North Miami, I think, since the beginning, although he was not born in the city of North Miami. So my condolences to his family. On last week, was it the week before last? It was on Thursday, April 11th. Kacha Filippo, Stephanie Thomas, and myself, we were on a call with President Obama. I think, he got onto the call at about midday, although the call started at 11:45, and basically he was urging all mayors through the United States, business people and not-for-profit organization leaders to work together to promote the summer and year-round youth jobs initiative that he started, I think, about 3 years ago, to make our communities safer. One thing that is different now, there's no funding from the federal government. Am I correct on that, Mr. Manager? For the year-round program, there's no funding from the federal government. I think, we have to significantly reduce, and he made it very clear. That's the reason why he wants the local businesses and the not-for-profit leaders to get together to create, he asked for the local and giant companies to find positive experience for the youth in our community. He even talked about his wife, Michelle Obama, that grew up in the streets of Chicago, how, she had gotten that opportunity, which is very early on. She got a job and she started to work. And because of that experience, and I think the night before she was in some cities talking about her experience, but the president talked about it that day. And basically she said, it's very important that, city leaders, get the young people out into work because that would create a lasting impression for those kids. The CEO for Jumbo Juice, which we have a Jumbo Juice in the city of North Miami.
You do?
Yeah, it's on the 135th and right next to Starbucks. And usually when we do our monthly bike ride, we usually make a stop at Jumbo Juice with the CEO for Jumbo Juice, which he was on the line. He said he has over 700 stores in 30 states. And he was on the call advising about his initiative of working with young individuals and how many people that he was able to put to work. He even, encouraging the local mayors to contact their local Jumbo Juice representative and to make sure that the young folks in the city can actually get hired. Then the president encouraged leaders to partner with community organization. He wants all of us to be ready to work with local organization and to encourage this initiative, which he called the key to the future. And he said, make sure we make sure the businesses get credit for work that they are doing. He allowed one mayor to talk. I was not that mayor. I was upset. But the mayor for Avondale, Arizona, discussed the challenges that face his city because he talked about the budget, but he said, Mr. President, since you want us to do this and we know how important it is to you, we'll stay engaged and we'll do the best that we can with the limited amount of funding that we got. And President Obama advised that, the summer is here. It's very important. Because this is the time that the kids are most vulnerable because they are out of school during that time. Unfortunately, you could have all the programs that you want, but most of the programs are not covered, and some of these programs, they have to pay to get into these programs. I think the city of North Miami does have a waiver for folks that can afford the programs we have in the city. Right, Mr. Manager, through you, Mr. Geimer, we do have a fee waiver for people that cannot afford to get into the city programs. Right, okay. And he said, there will be a big payoff for time and efforts invested into this initiative. He said that will have a big impact on the city. And the president continued to say that it would reduce violence and help promote positive economy. He said he would help young people in a small town. Instead of them moving away, they would stay in the city. Then he pitched to all of the mayors that that we should be good salespeople and want all of us to get involved. And he said, this should be a successful summer and looks for a great report at the end of the summer. Since I won't be mayor then, I guess the next mayor will give the president a report of the work that we are doing to help the youth in this great community and the city of North Miami. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Blinn for his report.
You just reminded me of something. I would like to have Jeff Geimer at the next meeting and tell the citizens all the summer programs we have available for their children. Every year I try to do that, and somehow I forget it. But this year, I think it's important because I've been asked a lot of questions about those summer programs.
That would be after election.
But you won't be here.
I won't be here? How do you know?
You said you may not be here.
Only God knows. Anyway, secondly,
God doesn't vote.
I'd like to grandfather a certain city ordinance. I spoke to Maxine Calloway about this earlier. It's a 1997 audience. Boy, I'm really getting tired here. The city ordinance from 1997 that suggests and says multifamily units inspected finding code violations can be grandfathered in instead of charging them with a code violation. You know what I'm talking about, Maxine, correct? So to work on the grandfathering people who bought before 1997 cannot be charged with a code violation when they're inspected for, because we have no way of knowing if there was a code violation before that, because there was no way of inspecting it. Secondly, I'd like to make a announcement about our CRA director manager, the great Leslie Prudent. He thinks I accused him of helping lose money at the CRA. Mr. Prudent, the money was lost over 4 years ago to 8 years ago. Mr. Prudent does an excellent job at the CRA. We haven't lost a penny, and we have given millions to our citizens in the last 4 years. So thank you, Leslie.
Okay, Councilman Marsalis.
Yes. Today is my last day on the dice.
Really? What happened?
It was a great 4 years, and I believe I served the city to the best of my ability. For the next 2 weeks, you will see me on the street. I will be knocking your doors. I may have a chance to return here. I may not. If I'm not, I won't go nowhere. I will be here. Probably serve the city or the citizen in another capacity. Like I said, I have learned a lot, and I love the city, and I love that job. And tonight, I think I made my last vote, and I still believe it was a great vote for the citizen of the city of North Miami. Anyway, so long. I'll be here. I won't go nowhere. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you, Councilman. You live in the city. I mean, you're definitely going to be here. You're not going anywhere. I know where you live at. You know, maybe I'll stop by and drink some Cuba Libre with you. Councilman Gavin?
Thank you. Councilman Marcellus, that was very classy.
I know.
I've sat here through several different people coming and going over the years. That ranks at the top of the list of demonstrating compassion and class for the citizens. Thank you. Much luck to you on Election Day.
Thank you.
The only thing I have tonight is an appointment to the Planning Commission. Jesus Ramon has resigned. I'd like to replace him with Jason James, whose application was given to me by the city clerk tonight. He's a civil engineer that lives on Northwest 129th Street, so I'd like to nominate him.
Anyone wishes to record a no?
No, second it.
Okay. All right. Okay, Vice Mayor?
I have a speech. Hold on.
While you're making your speech,
I'm ready.
No, hold on. I just want to say thank you to our great city attorney, Regine Monestim, for getting a dismissal on a lawsuit that was filed by folks in this great city because they were unhappy with the decision that the council made. And what's the beautiful about the dismissal of the lawsuit, the judge, you know, Peter Lopez, a great judge, I've known him for a very long time. The judge said this cause coming before the court on April 17, 2013 on a motion to dismiss filed by the city of North Miami. Having reviewed the file, the city's motion, the plaintiff's response, the city reply, and hearing argument of counsel, it is ordered in our judge that the reasons articulated by the city on the record, the motion should be and hereby granted. The case is hereby dismissed with prejudice. Usually the judges don't dismiss cases
Right.
with prejudice.
Very unusual.
So it must have been really bad. And the beauty of it, I mean, it looks like, this lawsuit that was filed by, really horrible circumstances. So, good job. Thank you so much, Regine.
Thank you so much for that recognition.
Good work, Regine. We really
I
appreciate
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, very, very nice, very nice. I mean, I could
Regine was part of that lawsuit. They sued her personally, too.
Yeah, so, but can
It
you
was
imagine?
a very unfortunate complaint.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine you got sued for a lawyer who could not even pass the Florida bar? I mean, that's interesting. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I wish it was like 7 o'clock. I would have given a better speech, but it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Councilman Marcellus, I think that Councilman Scott Galvin said the best. That I think that you have been very fair. And as only woman in this council, I just have to say thank you to all of you for the respect that you guys showed to me. And at the end of the day, I think that you did what best for the community. And one of the things that I learned, even between the mayor and Councilman Scott Galvin, charade, but at the end of the day, they're civilized enough to know that we here to discuss the people business. On another note, for the past 8 years, since I have been elected in this council, representing my district, I remember 8 years ago, the topic used to be District 4, the west side, the east side, the west side, the east side, not being equally shared the wealth of the city. But nowadays, thanks to the city manager and I would say Maxime, Jeff, not you, Leslie. No. You didn't contribute in that success. And yes, CRA, but not you. CRA. No, I'm coming with Leslie. And I would say Alim as well. And Dr. Claude, thank you so much for all the hard work that I know all the calls that I receive, I transfer them to you. And now it seems like we having an election, which I didn't know that I was running for any position, but District 4 is always the top of the topics. So everybody's just have something to do for District 4 or complaining about the amount of money that's been distributed to District 4. It's given me pleasure, make me feel that I have been working hard. And truly that make me feel also that I have been supported by this council, because I couldn't do it by myself without you guys.
We love you.
Support. I know. I really feel loved by you guys. So again, thank you so much. Well, I'm coming back for 2 more years. But anyways, thank you so much for supporting a district that I really, truly love, that I have been living there for 24 years. I was like 10. But anyways, thank you guys for the hard work. Mr. Mayor, you will be missed.
They got your name online.
For what?
On the website.
Not living there?
No, that your age. It shows your age.
Oh, well, that was not a lie. That was a little fake.
There's a misprint.
I know, right? But anyway, guys, thank you so much. And I hope that the next mayor or the next councils that come show the same passion and love for the city. Yes, things got ugly sometime, but at the end of the day, we all love this city, and we all actually live in the city.
We do love the city.
So, again, good luck, guys, and come back.
Thank
I
you.
will be here for
Well,
another 2
we love
years,
the city.
hopefully.
God bless the city.
Yeah, you remember my mother said, it's better to be ugly than not be here. So
I'm not ugly.
Don't do lie, right?
Oh, anyway, another thing.
Mr. City Manager.
Another last thing, Mr. Mayor. We know that hurricane season is coming soon in June, and we know we have a sister city with Delma that every year that we usually go to Haiti and help them, but this year we're not going to spend money to go there. Mayor Delma and another city that I adopted, city of Cabaret. I think those 2 mayors coming to the city. We'll spend a couple of days talking to staff about the ways that we actually, what we do before, during, and after a hurricane or any man-made disasters. So we anticipate to have those people for a couple of days in our city. We'll go through the different departments to know what kind of preparation that we made. So that's the update right now for disaster preparedness, dealing with the sister city and that other city that we'll be dealing with.
So late, all my calls say yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I am done. I will be going home. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I do have a husband waiting. Good night.
Mr. City Manager.
Mayor and Council, first of all, I'd like to apologize for being sick at the last council meeting. It's always been my endeavor to be at every council meeting, but I had a fever of 104 and just completely not coherent. So I want to apologize for that. Also, I wasn't here. I don't like ever missing a council meeting. Also, in regards to our budget, I just wanted to make sure that it's clear on record because numbers were being passed out. The city has $5 million reserve, $3 million, $5 million, $3 million for the employees, and we have $2.5 million left over. A total, the city has 10.5.
So altogether, we have $10.5 million.
Altogether, we have 10.5.
That's.
We, as you know, we had what you see on the website, and then later we gave $1 million for POW, and then we've done the sidewalk. So anything that we do, and I'm glad that we are going to stop at this point, but at least you know where the funding would have been coming from. So we're still in pretty good shape of having that fund. So I wanted to make that clear. Also, I want to extend my best wishes to Councilman Marcellus and Councilman Blinn in your election endeavors moving forward. And it's certainly we'll be glad to see you back. Mayor, I want to say that it's been great serving with you. Contrary to belief, we've had a lot of disagreements, but I want to thank you for always being professional with me in front and behind the scenes. We've had some very good disagreements for very good causes, but the mission has always been the same, which has been for the citizens. And I hope that the next mayor will be as exciting as you are when it comes to the youth and to the jobs and for just the overall welfare of this community. So thank you very much for allowing me to serve with you. And of course, this is a great council that we have. I enjoy serving with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Ms. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. That's a hard act to follow, but I will say best wishes to all of you. It has been really a pleasure to serve for this past year, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership and vision. I do appreciate it, and I am very fortunate to have worked with you. Same thing for Councilman Blinn and Councilman Galvin Councilman Marcellus and Councilman Blinn for your service and leadership. Very much appreciative, and I hope that we will continue to work together to move this city forward. Thank you.
Mr. City Clerk, you need a haircut, sir.
Obviously, I have nothing good to say about the mayor. First question is this. On May 14th, we still have a scheduled council meeting. Historically, whenever we have a municipal election...
That's already been canceled.
Right. We haven't issued that because we didn't know if the council wanted to cancel the May 14th May 14th council meeting and the May 28th council meeting, because technically we also have a council meeting May 28th. I didn't know what the council wanted to do.
They've both been canceled.
No, May 14th has been canceled because of the election. Then May 20th, there's a council meeting.
Okay, so technically, probably your last council meeting is going to be on the 28th.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's for and I want to just remind the North Miami residents that we do have early voting. Early voting begins on Monday, April 29th, about 5-6 days from today. Please be sure to vote. And I'll have my speech for you during your last council meeting, which is May 28th.
Nope, no problem. It looks like you have a couple gray hair there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Anyone wishes to record or no? Hearing none. Okay.
What do you mean you didn't finish law school? Harold?